आम आदमी पार्टी को छोड़ चुका है या छोड़ रहा है, क्योंकि हर ईमानदार मेहनतकश आदमी को ये लगता है कि अब आम आदमी पार्टी में काम करने की जगह नहीं बची और आम आदमी पार्टी अब एक ऐसे गलत रास्ते पर चल रही है जिससे कोई अपना नाता नहीं रखना चाहता। इसी के चलते एक एक करके तमाम लीडर्स ने आम आदमी पार्टी को छोड़ दिया। बाबा साहब अंबेडकर द्वारा बनाया गया संविधान ये ताकत देता है, ये प्रावधान देता है चुने हुए सांसदों को कि यदि उन्हें ऐसा महसूस हो कि उनकी पार्टी करप्ट और कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड हाथों में चली गई है या पार्टी गलत रास्ते पर जा रही है, तो वे अपनी पार्टी को त्याग सकते हैं, अधिकांश सांसद अगर चाहें, और उसके लिए 2/3 या 2/3 से ज्यादा की लिमिट तय करी गई। इस केस में 1 नहीं, 2 नहीं, 3 नहीं, 4 नहीं, 5 नहीं, 6 नहीं, 7 सांसद मिलकर आम आदमी पार्टी को त्याग रहे हैं, छोड़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि वे मानते हैं कि आम आदमी पार्टी करप्ट और कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड हाथों में जा चुकी है। और जो लोग ये कह रहे हैं, खासतौर पे आम आदमी पार्टी के नेता, कि डर कर चले गए आम आदमी पार्टी छोड़कर, हम डर कर नहीं, डिसअपॉइंटेड महसूस कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। हम डर कर नहीं, डिसएंचेंटेड फील कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। हम डर कर नहीं, डिसगस्टेड फील कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। और दूसरी महत्वपूर्ण बात, आज दिल्ली में शीश महल पार्ट 2 बनकर आया है, कंस्ट्रक्ट हुआ है, और उसकी कुछ तस्वीरें सामने आई हैं। जब पहला वाला शीश महल बना था, उसकी वजह से मेरा यह मानना है कि आम आदमी पार्टी की छवि तार तार हुई थी। और अगर सबसे बड़ा कारण दिल्ली चुनाव हारने का कुछ था, आम आदमी पार्टी की हार का जो मुख्य कारण था, उसमें वो शीश महल था। लेकिन आज दिल्ली चुनाव समाप्त हुए 1 साल भी अभी पूरा नहीं हुआ और शीश महल पार्ट 2 बन के सामने आ गया और बड़ी आलीशान बना है, उसकी तस्वीरें कुछ सामने आई हैं। तो मुझे लगता है आम आदमी पार्टी को इन तमाम विषयों पर चिंतन करना चाहिए। और न जाने अब कैसे आम आदमी पार्टी के अभी भी जो बचे कुचे भले कार्यकर्ता रह गए हैं, वो कैसे जवाब देंगे गली मोहल्लों में लोगों से। जब लोग शीश महल के बारे में उनसे सवाल पूछेंगे तो आम आदमी पार्टी को उस पर आत्मचिंतन करना चाहिए और उस पर विचार करना चाहिए।
Viewers, one of the hottest stories that's been ongoing since today morning, Sheesh Mahal 2.0, and now Raghav Chadha says that it has in fact been resurrected, and he also says that, you know, the first one was the main reason why AAP lost its Delhi seat. For now, that's all that we could wrap in this edition of the News Bulletin. Moving on the other side, we're also bringing you the culmination of the Iranian delegation's talks that was led by Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi in Pakistan with the Pakistan Army Chief Asim Munir. The talks have ended, and we're yet to understand what went in the indirect talks, the second round of truce that comes between the United States and Iran. Getting you this and a lot more on the other side.
Our pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, every day.
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
प्यास बुझाए, ठंडक लाए, सबको भाए जीरा सिर्फ। MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिर्फ।
जीरा सिर्फ, असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. the Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before.
Also on the other side, after Chadha breaks up, now sources say more than 60 Punjab MLAs are willing to back Raghav Chadha. Fresh claims of split also in AAP's Punjab unit. Getting you all the details on the other side. Stay tuned to Republic TV.
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला.
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks.
On the verdict 2026 with me, Gesu Bharadwaj, we decode the BJP's push for Bengal's second phase as Yogi Adityanath continues campaigning for the Bharatiya Janata Party. And also, Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Assam Chief Minister, says that TMC's time in Bengal is now up. In fact, we will also look at the all-time high voter turnout in Tamil Nadu and decode all the details about that, as ECI now says that no exit polls will be recorded until polling ends in all states. This and a lot more at 6 p.m. today.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट स्वाद बढ़ाए चमकी चाट
क्या बात है स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और बरसान अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट.
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं.
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा. रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना.
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं. रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात.
वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है.
अरे मेरे राजा
राजा और प्योर मसाला.
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट. ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े.
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट.
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे. केसरिया से मन जोगी
केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before. The Indian Air Force flies more than 55 of these MiG-29 UPG jets in frontline squadrons. These planes guard the northern and western borders day and night. Earlier upgrades added new radars, engines, and digital cockpits, but the short-range missiles stayed old. Now the ASRAAM brings fire-and-forget technology. Once the pilot locks on and fires, the missile finds the target on its own, even if the jet turns away to dodge enemy fire. It also works with helmet-mounted displays, so the pilot can just look at the enemy plane through the visor and the missile follows the eyes. This high off-bore sight ability lets the jet attack from strange angles without turning the whole plane first. This upgrade matters a lot because the region stays tense. Pakistan flies JF-17 jets with modern PL-10 missiles that reach farther and lock on quicker. China uses even better systems on its J-20 stealth fighters and other planes. In a real dogfight, the old MiG-29 with R-73
warm welcome. You're watching Republic TV. I'm Yesu Bharadwaj, and viewers quickly cutting across to Priyanka Kakkar, the AAP spokesperson who's taking a jibe at Raghav Chadha and also the BJP Sheesh Mahal 2.0 claims. Listen in.
धन्यवाद। सवाल है कि आज प्रवेश वर्मा ने प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस कर रहे थे तो उन्होंने केजरीवाल के खिलाफ रहमान टगैत का शब्द उपयोग किया था, उस पर आप क्या कहेंगे?
देखिए, ये भाजपा की जो नॉर्मल स्पीकिंग कल्चर है, जो उनकी लैंग्वेज है, ये वही शब्दावली का उन्होंने प्रयोग किया। बीजेपी इज डिवॉइड ऑफ एनी इंटेलेक्ट, बीजेपी इज डिवॉइड ऑफ एनी कॉन्शियंस, इट इज डिवॉइड ऑफ एनी मेरिट, and it is currently running only on lies, only on scams, only on corruption. ये भाजपा का चरित्र है।
प्रियंका, राघव चड्ढा बीजेपी ज्वाइन करने के बाद पहली बार मीडिया से मुखातिब हुए। उन्होंने कहा कि हम डर कर नहीं गए हैं, डिस्कस्टेड फील करके गए हैं, करप्ट और कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड हाथों में हमारी पार्टी जा चुकी है। कई तरह के तमाम आरोप राघव चड्ढा ने लगाए।
तो उनको अब सेफ बीजेपी में लगता है, वो उनकी आइडियोलॉजी हो गई। वो भाजपा जो पंजाब में किसानों जिस भाजपा की वजह से 750 किसानों की शहादत हुई, जिस भाजपा की वजह से भाजपा के लोगों ने किसानों के बच्चों के ऊपर जीप चला दी, ऐसी भाजपा में जाकर वो सेफ एंड सिक्योर फील कर रहे हैं। पंजाब के लोगों को धोखा दिया है राघव चड्ढा ने। राघव चड्ढा, I'll say truthfully, has exhibited a very spineless and uncultured behavior.
मैम, विक्रमजीत साहनी ने एक इंटरव्यू दिया है, उन्होंने ये कहा कि आम आदमी पार्टी के पास पंजाब के लिए कोई विजन नहीं है, वो सिर्फ 27 की चिंता में है। और उन्होंने ये भी कहा है कि ये जो आप सुप्रीम कोर्ट जाए, हाई कोर्ट जाए, जहाँ भी जाए, हमने अपना फैसला ले लिया और हम बीजेपी के साथ विलय कर लेंगे।
देखिए, मुझे लगता है कि जो भी पंजाब पे ग्राउंड पे जुड़ा है वो जानता होगा कि किस तरह से बीजेपी और कांग्रेस ने मिलके, पुरानी सरकारों ने मिलके पंजाब की ऐसी हालत कर दी कि उड़ता पंजाब जैसी मूवीज बनती थी। मुझे लगता है कि जो भी ग्राउंड पे वहां पे कनेक्टेड होगा वो देखेगा किस तरह से भगवंत मान जी की सरकार ने वहां पर युद्ध नशे के विरुद्ध जैसी स्कीम शुरू की, कैसे 50,000 से ज्यादा अरेस्ट किए, किस तरह से एक 10 लाख रुपए की हेल्थ स्कीम दी जो हर घर को 65 लाख घरों को बेनिफिट दे रही है, कैसे वहां पर सरकारी नौकरियां दी गई जो भाजपा काल में कहीं भी पूरे देश में नहीं हुआ, कैसे वहां पर दी गई। तो मुझे लगता है कि एनीबडी हु इज कनेक्टेड विद द ग्राउंड देयर नोज जिस तरह का आम आदमी पार्टी ने वहां काम किया है, चाहे 300 यूनिट फ्री बिजली हर घर को देना, 90% पंजाब का बिजली का बिल नहीं आता, ये सारे काम जो आम आदमी पार्टी की सरकार ने दिल्ली में किए थे, चाहे महिलाओं को फ्री बस यात्रा देना, वो सारे काम शिक्षा रिलेटेड, हेल्थ रिलेटेड पंजाब में किए हैं। और पंजाब को रंगला पंजाब बनाने का हमारा मिशन भगवंत मान सरकार जी के अंडर कंटिन्यूड है।
मेरा एक सवाल रहेगा कि दिल्ली में शीश महल को लेके दिल्ली सरकार चली गई आम आदमी पार्टी की, अब शीश महल 2 आ गया, ये प्रेस कॉन्फ्रेंस हुई है, ऐसा तो नहीं कि पंजाब को भी शीश महल 2 के साथ कर दिया जाए? मुझे लगता है कि लोग बहुत स्मार्ट हैं, लोगों की स्मार्टनेस को आपको कम नहीं आंकना चाहिए। लोगों ने देखा कि किस तरह से एक झूठा मुकदमा अरविंद केजरीवाल जी, मनीष सिसोदिया जी, सत्येंद्र जैन जी, संजय सिंह जी के ऊपर बनाया गया, उनको जेल डाला गया, वो झुके नहीं, टूटे नहीं। उसके बाद जब वो छूट गए तो कोर्ट ने कैसी टिप्पणियां की कि सीबीआई तोते की तरह काम करती है, कि ईडी ने द्वेष की भावना से काम किया, कि अरविंद केजरीवाल और अन्य नेताओं के खिलाफ कोई आरोप नहीं निकला, कोई रिकवरी नहीं हुई क्योंकि कुछ किया नहीं। और फिर ये भी कहा कि जो समन्स ईडी ने भेजे वो इलीगल थे, जो अरेस्ट हुए इन नेताओं के वो सब इलीगल थे। उसके बाद आपने देखा होगा हाल ही में कोर्ट ने ये भी कहा कि इन सबको डिस्चार्ज किया जाता है क्योंकि जो भी प्रमाण इन भाजपा की एजेंसीज ने कोर्ट के आगे रखे वो इस लायक भी नहीं है कि केस चलाया जा सके। और डिस्चार्ज इज ऑन अ हायर फुटिंग देन एक्विटल, मतलब उसके लिए तो पूरा केस सुना जाएगा, उसके बाद डिसाइड होगा। इसमें तो कोर्ट ने ये पाया कि प्रमाण ही इतने झूठे थे, इसने कहा उसने कहा, बस इस तरह के प्रमाण थे और उनको डिस्चार्ज कर दिया गया। तो उनका एक दुष्प्रचार फेल हो गया भाजपा का, तो वो अपनी नकारात्मक राजनीति, क्योंकि कंपटीशन थोड़ी कर सकते हैं काम में अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के साथ, दैट इज इम्पॉसिबल, तो क्या करेंगे, बदनाम करने की कोशिश जैसे आज किया, झूठ इंटरनेट से। आप लोग सब इतने इंटेलिजेंट पत्रकार हैं, ये बहुत जरूरी है, आपकी बहुत बड़ी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है एज 4th पिलर्स ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी कि आप दिखाइए लोगों को किस तरह से इंटरनेट से डाउनलोड करके इतने बड़े बड़े नेता, इतने बड़े बड़े मंत्री ये झूठ प्रचार करते हैं अरविंद केजरीवाल जी के लिए। कंपीट कर लेना काम में।
Last question. Bansuri Swaraj in the press conference later said that they never said that the photos that they showed is of the said bungalow.
Oh, great. Then the MP does not agree with what the minister said or possibly did not hear what the minister said in the previous press conference. I mean, it's या तो वो डिसाइड करके नहीं आते, उनको पता नहीं पार्टी लाइन क्या है, और झूठ के पैर तो होते नहीं, टिकता का एक पीसी में भी नहीं टिका, आप बता रही हैं।
एक सवाल है राघव चड्ढा को लेके, उनके वीडियो वायरल हो रहा है कि बीजेपी पार्टी बहुत भ्रष्ट है, कभी नहीं। उसके बाद राघव चड्ढा आज वहां पहुंच गए हैं, तो उसके लिए आप क्या कहते हो, ईडी सीबीआई का ये डर है क्या है?
देखिए, राघव चड्ढा जी के ऊपर भी डीजेपी में एक इरेगुलरिटीज का केस चल रहा था, एवरीवन इज अवेयर अबाउट इट। स्वाति मालीवाल जी के ऊपर भी चल रहा था, वो आज सुबह मैंने सुना डिनाई कर रही है, कोई केस ही नहीं था, इट्स ओपन पब्लिक नॉलेज, कोई भी देख सकता है। अशोक मित्तल जी के ऊपर भी हम सब ने देखा कैसे 2 दिन पहले ही ईडी की रेड हुई थी और किस दबाव में उनको लाया गया। तो ये बीजेपी की पुरानी मोडस ऑपरेंडी है, उनका ईडी सीबीआई का दुरुपयोग करना। अगर ठीक जगह पर ईडी सीबीआई का यूज किया होता तो शायद हमारे देश में मोदी जी के आने के बाद करप्शन कम हुआ होता, पर वो बढ़ गया है।
फोटोज का तो आपने खंडन किया, लेकिन क्या लोधी स्ट्रीट में ऐसा कोई बंगला है जिसपे?
मुझे लगता है कि अरविंद केजरीवाल इज अ वेरी ट्रांसपेरेंट मैन। आई थिंक 2-3 दिन पहले ही उन्होंने ट्वीट करके खुद जानकारी दी थी कि भाजपा ने, सेंट्रल गवर्नमेंट ने एज अ नेशनल कन्वीनर उनको जो घर अलॉट किया है वहां वो शिफ्ट हो चुके हैं, वो उन्होंने ट्वीट ही किया था खुद ही। थैंक यू।
Viewers, that was Priyanka Kakkar, AAP's a national spokesperson who has refuted all claims of Sheesh Mahal 2.0 that were floated by the BJP. In fact, she also held a photograph, a culmination of photographs, in fact, saying that BJP has taken all photographs of the alleged Kejriwal residence, the luxurious residence, off of the internet and circulated it, calling it a fake remark. Viewers, now in fact, keeping on to this story, Raghav Chadha has now said that the constitution gives them the right, if they feel that their party is going the wrong way, then nobody can stop the MPs from leaving the party. Now, in fact, he also goes on to say that 7 MPs have exited the Aam Aadmi Party from the Rajya Sabha. Remember, that makes up for about 70% of all Aam Aadmi Party representation and members on the Rajya Sabha's floor. So 7 out of 10 MPs have now defected from the Aam Aadmi Party. They've exited and they've announced that they are going to join the BJP. Raghav Chadha has said it. Swati Maliwal has said it. Now, Raghav Chadha says that the constitution gives these members of the parliament their right to defect from a party when they feel that the party has lost its ideology, its values and its principles, exactly what he's been saying since the beginning. Now remember, he says that anti-defection and disqualification cannot be applied on the 7 out of 10 members because that is 2/3 of the majority that is agreed to merge with the BJP. Listen in to Raghav Chadha.
देशभक्त आदमी जिसने आम आदमी पार्टी को अपने खून पसीने से सींचा और बड़ी उम्मीदों के साथ आम आदमी पार्टी से जुड़ा था, आज हर वो व्यक्ति या तो आम आदमी पार्टी को छोड़ चुका है या छोड़ रहा है, क्योंकि हर ईमानदार मेहनतकश आदमी को ये लगता है कि अब आम आदमी पार्टी में काम करने की जगह नहीं बची और आम आदमी पार्टी अब एक ऐसे गलत रास्ते पर चल रही है जिससे कोई अपना नाता नहीं रखना चाहता। इसी के चलते एक एक करके तमाम लीडर्स ने आम आदमी पार्टी को छोड़ दिया। बाबा साहब अंबेडकर द्वारा बनाया गया संविधान ये ताकत देता है, ये प्रावधान देता है चुने हुए सांसदों को कि यदि उन्हें ऐसा महसूस हो कि उनकी पार्टी करप्ट और कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड हाथों में चली गई है या पार्टी गलत रास्ते पर जा रही है, तो वे अपनी पार्टी को त्याग सकते हैं, अधिकांश सांसद अगर चाहें, और उसके लिए 2/3 या 2/3 से ज्यादा की लिमिट तय करी गई। इस केस में 1 नहीं, 2 नहीं, 3 नहीं, 4 नहीं, 5 नहीं, 6 नहीं, 7 सांसद मिलकर आम आदमी पार्टी को त्याग रहे हैं, छोड़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि वे मानते हैं कि आम आदमी पार्टी करप्ट और कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड हाथों में जा चुकी है। और जो लोग ये कह रहे हैं, खासतौर पे आम आदमी पार्टी के नेता, कि डर कर चले गए आम आदमी पार्टी छोड़कर, हम डर कर नहीं, डिसअपॉइंटेड महसूस कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। हम डर कर नहीं, डिसएंचेंटेड फील कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। हम डर कर नहीं, डिसगस्टेड फील कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। और दूसरी महत्वपूर्ण बात, आज दिल्ली में शीश महल पार्ट 2 बनकर आया है, कंस्ट्रक्ट हुआ है, और उसकी कुछ तस्वीरें सामने आई हैं। जब पहला वाला शीश महल बना था, उसकी वजह से मेरा यह मानना है कि आम आदमी पार्टी की छवि तार-तार हुई थी। और अगर सबसे बड़ा कारण दिल्ली चुनाव हारने का कुछ था, आम आदमी पार्टी की हार का जो मुख्य कारण था, उसमें वो शीश महल था। लेकिन आज दिल्ली चुनाव समाप्त हुए 1 साल भी अभी पूरा नहीं हुआ और शीश महल पार्ट 2 बन के सामने आ गया और बड़ी आलीशान बना है, उसकी तस्वीरें कुछ सामने आई हैं। तो मुझे लगता है आम आदमी पार्टी को इन तमाम विषयों पर चिंतन करना चाहिए। और न जाने अब कैसे आम आदमी पार्टी के अभी भी जो बचे कुचे भले कार्यकर्ता रह गए हैं, वो कैसे जवाब देंगे गली मोहल्लों में लोगों से। जब लोग शीश महल के बारे में उनसे सवाल पूछेंगे तो आम आदमी पार्टी को उस पर आत्मचिंतन करना चाहिए और उस पर विचार करना चाहिए।
In fact, we're also being joined by my colleague Saurav to get us more updates on the matter. Now, Saurav, Raghav Chadha has rigged up the constitution. He says that anti-defection law, disqualification, everything that the Aam Aadmi Party has been campaigning against the 7 who've decided to quit the party is not going to hold its ground, since 2/3 members, at least 70% of all their representation in Rajya Sabha, has decided to exit and merge with the BJP. Speak to us about Raghav Chadha's recent remarks. He also says that he did not quit the party out of fear, but out of disappointment. Saurav.
Yes, Raghav Chadha in the recent statement said that he is feeling disgust with the party. He said that who has given all the blood to build this party.
The stick from its principles and values. And the other thing which the Raghav Chadha has said that the B.R. Ambedkar constitution has given them the power that they can join any other party if they are feeling disgust or if they are feeling that the party is going the wrong way. And that is why he said that according to the constitution, 2/3 of the MPs can merge with any other party if they think that the party has changed its ideology and is going to the wrong path. The Raghav Chadha has also claimed that every person who has been working day and night tirelessly for the Aam Aadmi Party, and now they are leaving because that party is no more a corruption-free party. These are the statements which were given by Raghav Chadha in the recent interview. And this is a big development on the ground as the Aam Aadmi Party is claiming that the Raghav Chadha is a traitor and he has betrayed the Aam Aadmi Party and he has joined the BJP because he was getting threats like for the ED raid and etc. This is a major developing story which we are following since morning. Back to you.
Right, Saurav, thanks very much for getting us those details. In fact, Raghav Chadha has in fact rigged up the constitution where he says that the constitution gives them the right to defect. Now we were shifting focus to another breaking development that we're getting at this hour. Now the finance minister for Punjab, Harpal Chima, has spoken to Republic TV. He alleges that by putting pressure on the BJP and the CBI, the BJP is trying to break the AAP's morale, especially in Punjab. Now he says that MPs who've shifted could not bear the pressure as they were cowards and traitors. He concludes by saying that people of Punjab will give a befitting reply in the coming Vidhan Sabha elections scheduled just next year. Listen in.
देखिए, कुछ समय था जब वो बोलते थे कि बीजेपी जो है भारतीय जनता पार्टी वो गुंडों की पार्टी है, अनपढ़ लोगों की पार्टी है। आज उसी पार्टी में चले गए जिसकी विचारधारा के खिलाफ वो लड़ते थे। मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा कि उनकी अपनी विचारधारा थी या नहीं थी। आम आदमी पार्टी आज भी उसी विचारधारा पे है। क्या है वो कि हमारे बच्चों को अच्छी शिक्षा देना, हमारे बुजुर्गों को अच्छा स्वास्थ्य देना। हम तो आज भी उसी विचारधारा पे खड़े हैं और हमारे नेशनल कन्वीनर अरविंद केजरीवाल जी आज भी करप्शन के खिलाफ डट के लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं। उनके ऊपर कितने बड़े झूठे केस दर्ज किए गए, जेल भेजा गया, उनको मानसिक तौर पे, उनके साथियों को, संजय सिंह जी को, मनीष सिसोदिया जी को, सतेंद्र जैन को मानसिक तौर पे तोड़ने का यत्न किया गया, पर लेकिन वो नहीं टूटे। अब जो कमज़ोर लोग हैं वो टूट गए, जो कमज़ोर दिल वाले लोग हैं, डरपोक लोग हैं, टूट गए। ईडी का थोड़ी सी रेड हुई, सीबीआई की थोड़ी सी रेड हुई तो लोग भाग के भारतीय जनता पार्टी के ऑफिस में दाखिल हो गए। सो ये मैं समझता हूँ देश के लोकतंत्र के लिए बहुत ही कलंकित दिन था। कल देश शर्मसार हो रहा था जब इस देश का संविधान टूट रहा था, जब बाबा साहब भीमराव अम्बेडकर जी द्वारा बनाया संविधान टूट रहा था, जब इस देश की डेमोक्रेसी के साथ बलात्कार हो रहा था। सब पूरा देश देख रहा था कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी कैसे इस देश की डेमोक्रेसी के साथ बलात्कार कर रही है। देखिए, कुछ समय था जब वो बोलते थे कि बीजेपी जो है भारतीय जनता पार्टी वो गुंडों की पार्टी है, अनपढ़ लोगों की पार्टी है। आज उसी पार्टी में चले गए जिसकी विचारधारा के खिलाफ वो लड़ते थे। मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा कि उनकी अपनी विचारधारा थी या नहीं थी। आम आदमी पार्टी आज भी उसी विचारधारा पे है। क्या है वो कि हमारे बच्चों को अच्छी शिक्षा देना, हमारे बुजुर्गों को अच्छा स्वास्थ्य देना। हम तो आज भी उसी विचारधारा पे खड़े हैं और हमारे नेशनल कन्वीनर अरविंद केजरीवाल जी आज भी करप्शन के खिलाफ डट के लड़ाई लड़ रहे हैं। उनके ऊपर कितने बड़े झूठे केस दर्ज किए गए, जेल भेजा गया, उनको मानसिक तौर पे, उनके साथियों को, संजय सिंह जी को, मनीष सिसोदिया जी को, सतेंद्र जैन को मानसिक तौर पे तोड़ने का यत्न किया गया, पर लेकिन वो नहीं टूटे। अब जो कमज़ोर लोग हैं वो टूट गए, जो कमज़ोर दिल वाले लोग हैं, डरपोक लोग हैं, टूट गए। ईडी का थोड़ी सी रेड हुई, सीबीआई की थोड़ी सी रेड हुई तो लोग भाग के भारतीय जनता पार्टी के ऑफिस में दाखिल हो गए। सो ये मैं समझता हूँ देश के लोकतंत्र के लिए बहुत ही कलंकित दिन था। कल देश शर्मसार हो रहा था जब इस देश का संविधान टूट रहा था, जब बाबा साहब भीमराव अम्बेडकर जी द्वारा बनाया संविधान टूट रहा था, जब इस देश की डेमोक्रेसी के साथ बलात्कार हो रहा था, सब पूरा देश देख रहा था कि भारतीय जनता पार्टी कैसे इस देश की डेमोक्रेसी के साथ बलात्कार कर रही है।
Viewers, 7 out of 10 Rajya Sabha members of the AAP have now defected and joined the BJP, calling it a merger. Now, this is a big blow to the Aam Aadmi Party, but on the other hand, Aam Aadmi Party workers are staging various protests, especially right outside the lovely professional university owned by one of the MPs who defected, Ashok Mittal. In fact, AAP volunteers lodged a protest outside Ashok Mittal's LPU, and in fact, they wrote outside the gates of the university, Punjab's traitor, Punjab's Gaddar. You can see it in the visuals on your screens. They've written Punjab's traitor. They've written it in Punjabi. They've used spray paint and they've written it on the walls of the university. Now remember, AAP volunteers, our party workers are protesting against and exercise constitutional rights of the 7 MPs who have decided to defect from the party and join hands with the BJP. Anger erupting all across outside LPU, which is owned by Ashok Mittal, one of the MPs who decided to exit Aam Aadmi Party. The walls read Punjab's traitor. This has been written in Punjabi using spray paint. Our volunteers now expressing their anger over 7 party MPs who decided to quit the Aam Aadmi Party. A complete show of chaos on your screens. This is right outside the lovely professional university owned by, remember, Ashok Mittal. And yes, this is the same person who was replaced and who had to take place of Raghav Chadha as the Rajya Sabha Speaker for Aam Aadmi Party. In fact, with Raghav Chadha, Ashok Mittal has also now quit the Aam Aadmi Party from the Rajya Sabha. 7 out of 10 members have quit. And look at the visuals. Look at what the Aam Aadmi Party is doing in response. They've been calling since morning these MPs traitors, cowards and whatnot, and now it has crossed all limits of sanity outside lovely professional university where hundreds and thousands of students go and take education. Our volunteers and party workers have lodged a protest. In fact, viewers, quickly shifting focus to another breaking development. Punjab's Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann has now requested for a meeting with the President. Now, Chief Minister Mann could be expected to meet the President along with Punjab's AAP MLAs. Now, that's the latest that we're getting in. Now, remember, this also comes at the heels of AAP claiming that they will file for disqualification of all the 7 MPs who've decided to defect, who've decided to exit the Aam Aadmi Party and merge with the BJP. And in the latest, Chief Minister of Punjab, also AAP's Chief Ministerial candidate, Bhagwant Mann, now says that he's going to request a meeting with the President along with other Punjab MLAs. In fact, we're also being joined by my colleague Lalit to get us more updates on the matter, who is in Chandigarh. Lalit, speak to us about what we're learning. You know, AAP's Chief Minister in Punjab, Bhagwant Mann, saying that he will go and meet the President. What is it that we can expect, since he also says that MLAs will be campaigning and joining him in this meeting? Lalit.
The Aam Aadmi Party leader, Mr. Anurag Dhanda, has written a tweet in which he has said that the Chief Minister of Punjab, Bhagwant Mann, would be seeking time from the President of India with the MLAs, and he would be meeting and saying that the way the 7 MLAs have betrayed the Aam Aadmi Party. So regarding that, he would be meeting the President of India. For that, he had seek time regarding that. But other than that, if we talk about the way yesterday the things have happened in Delhi when the 7 MPs of the Aam Aadmi Party have merged into BJP. After that, the political temperatures across the Punjab could be seen risen up. Apart from that, if you talk about the way Raghav Chadha have attacked the national convener Arvind Kejriwal and the way the CM of Punjab, Bhagwant Mann, have given a reply. After that, slamming each other could be seen. A political heat-up could be seen between the leaders across Punjab and Delhi. But what it could be seen in the future is that the way there has been speculation that one camp of the MLAs of Aam Aadmi Party could be seen in touch with Raghav Chadha, as Raghav Chadha and Sanjay Pathak, who have been the architect of the Aam Aadmi Party in the 2022 election, the way Aam Aadmi Party have got a bumper victory by winning 92 Vidhan Sabha seats. They know the many core things about the Aam Aadmi Party. So it would be very important to note that in the coming days also many political updates.
Right, Lalit, in fact, we're also being joined by Saurav, who's joining us from New Delhi on the same matter. In fact, I'm requesting you to hold your thought there. Saurav, you know, we just heard Lalit and a rigmarole that's ongoing in Punjab's AAP unit. They're now looking to go to the precedent. In fact, it's a different thing what we can, you know, expect from that meeting, or if at all that even happens. But talk to us about the temperatures in Delhi. You know, we just had Priyanka Kakkar also make some explosive remarks against those who have defected, and also on the Sheesh Mahal remark. Talk to us about everything that's unfolding in the national capital, Saurav.
Yes, Priyanka Kakkar, Aam Aadmi Party spokesperson, has claimed that all the people who have left the Aam Aadmi Party to join the BJP, they are spineless and uncultured. This is uncultured behavior and this will not be tolerated. And she said that the Aam Aadmi Party will be filing a plea in the Rajya Sabha to cancel the membership of all these 7 MPs who have joined the Bharatiya Janata Party. They have claimed that this is an illegal move made by all these 7 MPs, and if need be, they will also go to the courts. They said that they have already consulted with their legal team, and now the further proceedings regarding this is ongoing.
In fact, so what you're essentially saying is Priyanka Kakkar says that AAP will demand a disqualification of the 7 MPs, but that's exactly what Raghav Chadha also addressed viewers. He said that disqualification or anti-defection law will not be possible. 2/3 of their MPs, 7 out of 10 in Rajya Sabha, have volunteered to exit the Aam Aadmi Party and merge with the BJP. Nothing wrong legally in that move. But that's all that we could wrap in this edition. On the other side, after Raghav Chadha has now broken out of Aam Aadmi Party, sources say that over 60 Punjab MLAs are also willing to back Raghav Chadha. What can this mean for Bhagwant Mann's AAP government in Punjab? We're breaking all of that down on the other side.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार्डकोर मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before. The Indian Air Force flies more than 55 of these MiG-29 UPG jets in frontline squadrons. These planes guard the northern and western borders day and night. Earlier upgrades added new radars, engines, and digital cockpits, but the short-range missiles stayed old. Now the ASRAAM brings fire-and-forget technology. Once the pilot locks on and fires, the missile finds the target on its own, even if the jet turns away to dodge enemy fire. It also works with helmet-mounted displays, so the pilot can just look at the enemy plane through the visor and the missile follows the eyes. This high off-bore sight ability lets the jet attack from strange angles without turning the whole plane first. This upgrade matters a lot because the region stays tense. Pakistan flies JF-17 jets with modern PL-10 missiles that reach farther and lock on quicker. China uses even better systems on its J-20 stealth fighters and other planes. In a real dogfight, the old MiG-29 with R-73 could lose the first shot. With ASRAAM, the Indian pilots get longer reach, faster lock, and higher chance to survive. The missile also works well against low-flying drones that are hard to see on radar. Many experts see drone swarms as the new big threat in air wars, and this upgrade gives the MiG-29 a strong answer. The ASRAAM already proved itself on Indian planes. The Air Force fitted it successfully on the homemade LCA Tejas and the Jaguar fighters. Those tests went smooth, so putting it on the MiG-29 UPG is a natural next step.
BJP is showing fake images of Arvind Kejriwal's house up, challenges BJP to show Rekha Gupta's house instead. After Raghav Chadha breaks up, sources now say more than 60 Punjab MLAs willing to back Raghav Chadha. Bhagwant Kheda remains absconding after Supreme Court rejects anticipatory bail. Kheda's location still not traceable. High-level talks between Iranian delegation led by Foreign Minister Arakchi and Pak's Army Chief Asim Munir comes to an end. Reports say Trump sending Witkoff and Kushner to Pakistan for negotiations, but Iran says no direct talks planned with the US. Hello and welcome viewers, you're watching live and breaking on Republic TV with me, Ishita Mitra, and our top focus, a big exclusive from Republic this time. Now, a major blow to Dawood Ibrahim as his aide Salim Dola has now been arrested in Istanbul. Now, Republic here has accessed those images of Dola right after the arrest. It was a joint operation carried out by the National Intelligence Organization as well as the police unit. He was present on Interpol's radar. Dola was in fact hiding using a fake UAE identification document. But now he has been busted, he's been arrested, and Republic here has accessed those exclusive images of Dola right after arrest. Now on your screen we're getting you these exclusive images of the operation carried out by the police unit and National Intelligence Organization in Istanbul. Now on your screen you can see how cash has now been recovered from, in fact, his possession. He's a very close aide of global terrorist Dawood Ibrahim, Salim Dola, who's now been arrested in Istanbul. In fact, let's get you more details about this operation. Now let's talk about the fact that Salim has been running a drug syndicate. Dola, in fact, was running a drug syndicate worth rupees 5,000 crore. Now he's been arrested. Remember, he was using a fake UAE identification card. He was in fact running manufacturing units in Maharashtra as well. Now he's a big drug cartel and his syndicate was running all across several countries, in fact. All right, my colleague Shravan Sen now joins me with more details on this. Shravan, break it down for us. How was this operation carried out in Istanbul by National Intelligence Organization and police unit? And also, how significant of a blow this is to Dawood Ibrahim?
Well, in fact, this entire drug cartel of Dawood Ibrahim that has been operating in various parts of India, particularly in the state of Maharashtra and in Telangana, was being run by this man that you see on the screens. In fact, he was on the run for several years put together. In fact, it was in 2025 that his son was extradited from UAE and a close associate was also extradited from UAE following multiple arrests that were basically made in the year 2025. In fact, there was a factory that was busted by the Maharashtra police in Sangli, in which MD was basically being manufactured. We're given to understand that following this entire operation that was carried out by the Maharashtra police, we're given to understand there were leads that they had got. In fact, as far as Salim Dola is concerned, a red corner notice was already issued by the Interpol, following which it seems that he was on the radar of the global police. In fact, it turns out that he was in the hiding fake passports that were being used by Salim Dola. In fact, after the raids that were basically carried out, a UAE passport, a Bulgarian passport was also seized from Salim Dola. In fact, we should be playing out the full video of the arrest that took place. He was staying in an apartment, is what we are being told, in Istanbul when the Turkey police, when they carried out a joint operation in which, what you can see right now on your screens, this was the very moment when the Turkey police had reached the apartment where he was hiding, following which the arrest has actually taken place. Let's also play out the full video of the arrest that has taken place. In fact, let's just play out the full video of the arrest and then I'm going to play out that exclusive report that has been filed by a Turkish journalist for Republic TV, in fact, where he's taking us through the details of the entire operation. First, let us play the video of the arrest. In fact, this was an arrest that has already taken place 24 hours ago, but these are the exclusive images, videos that have been accessed of the recoveries that have been made. In fact, synthetic drugs, fake currency, all of it has now been recovered following the searches that were basically carried out by the Turkey police, which also includes an advanced police party which had reached the spot following certain intelligence inputs that were received. This is the video. Take a look.
Milli İstihbarat Teşkilatı ve İstanbul Emniyeti Narkotik Suçlarla Mücadele Şube Müdürlüğü ekipleri önemli bir operasyona imza attı. Zaten Türkiye'de uyuşturucu ticaretine yönelik ciddi çalışmalar yapılıyor. Salim Dola'nın saklandığı eve baskın yapıldı. Evin içerisinde aramalar gerçekleştirildi ve yapılan aramalarda bir adet Kuveyt kimlik kartı, bir adet Bulgaristan pasaportu yakalandı. Bir miktar para ele geçirildi ve o paralara da el konuldu. Salim Dola şu an gözaltında. İşlemlerinin tamamlanmasının ardından geri gönderim merkezine teslim edilecek. Önemli bir operasyondan bahsediyoruz. Özellikle Türkiye'de son zamanlarda uyuşturucu ticaretine yönelik ciddi operasyonlar gerçekleşiyor. Salim Dola ve uyuşturucu ağı dikkat çeken bir ticaret rotası oluşturmuştu. Özellikle konteyner taşımacılığı, yine hava yoluyla kargo gönderimi yaparak bu sevkiyatları sağlıyorlardı. Özellikle o kargoların yasal ürün gibi gözükmesini sağlayıp bu maddelerin ticaretini gerçekleştiriyorlardı ve yurt dışında paravan şirketler kurarak bu maddelerin dağıtımını yapıyorlardı. Sadece elbette bununla da sınırlı değil. Salim Dola'nın gerçekleştirdiği bu uyuşturucu ağı tespit edildi ve bu kapsamda harekete geçildi. Hindistan'ın Mumbai şehrinde gerçekleşen uyuşturucu operasyonlarında birçok kişi gözaltına alındı ve gözaltına alınanlar talimatları Salim Dola'dan aldıklarını söylediler ve bu kapsamda da önemli tespitler yapıldı. Milli İstihbarat Teşkilatı ve İstanbul Emniyeti Narkotik Suçlarla Mücadele Şube Müdürlüğü ekipleri önemli bir operasyona imza attı. Zaten Türkiye'de uyuşturucu ticaretine yönelik ciddi çalışmalar yapılıyor. Salim Dola'nın saklandığı eve baskın yapıldı. Evin içerisinde aramalar gerçekleştirildi ve yapılan aramalarda bir adet Kuveyt kimlik kartı, bir adet Bulgaristan pasaportu yakalandı. Bir miktar para ele geçirildi ve o paralara da el konuldu. Salim Dola şu an gözaltında. İşlemlerinin tamamlanmasının ardından geri gönderim merkezine teslim edilecek. Önemli bir operasyondan bahsediyoruz. Özellikle Türkiye'de son zamanlarda uyuşturucu ticaretine yönelik ciddi operasyonlar gerçekleşiyor. Salim Dola ve uyuşturucu ağı dikkat çeken bir ticaret rotası oluşturmuştu. Özellikle konteyner taşımacılığı, yine hava yoluyla kargo gönderimi yaparak bu sevkiyatları sağlıyorlardı. Özellikle o kargoların yasal ürün gibi gözükmesini sağlayıp bu maddelerin ticaretini gerçekleştiriyorlardı ve yurt dışında paravan şirketler kurarak bu maddelerin dağıtımını yapıyorlardı. Sadece elbette bununla da sınırlı değil. Salim Dola'nın gerçekleştirdiği bu uyuşturucu ağı tespit edildi ve bu kapsamda harekete geçildi. Hindistan'ın Mumbai şehrinde gerçekleşen uyuşturucu operasyonlarında birçok kişi gözaltına alındı ve gözaltına alınanlar talimatları Salim Dola'dan aldıklarını söylediler ve bu kapsamda da önemli tespitler yapıldı.
Well, it is essentially believed that Salim Dola was in the UAE. That's when the Indian intelligence agencies had received certain inputs about this entire drug cartel that was being operated by him, Mohammed Sheikh, as well as his son. His son, who was arrested by UAE authorities early last year and thereafter extradited to Mumbai. He's currently in the custody of the Mumbai police, where the investigations are being carried out. It turns out that 2 key arrests have been made in the last 1 year, following which there were essentially more inputs that was received that he was using multiple fake passports and was actually traveling in countries like Turkey. That's when the Interpol was essentially informed by the Indian intelligence agencies through the Central Bureau of Investigation, as multiple charge sheets have already been filed, and his role has essentially been well documented by the state police. In fact, it turns out that following the last arrest that was made, they had received specific intelligence inputs about the movement of Salim Dola, and he's quite critical as far as Dawood Ibrahim's entire operation is concerned, because he has essentially outsourced this entire work. In fact, it turns out that several front companies have actually been established, and these front companies have been using various shipment corridors, and which have been essentially used to send across drugs across various countries. And that is the reason why, in fact, there was a larger team that was put in place, and Turkey was thereafter informed about the presence of Salim Dola in Istanbul, following which these raids were carried out. Now, I just wanted you to take a look at a closer look at the searches that were carried out. This was early morning when the searches were carried out, and a full-fledged team, a larger police party, was there for a reconnaissance, and following which this operation was also carried out. This is the latest video of the very moment when the search was basically carried out in the apartment where Salim Dola was hiding. Well, in fact, following the searches that were carried out, we are given to understand that a fake currency with a face value of over 25 lakh rupees was recovered by the Turkey police. Apart from that, multiple fake passports, which includes a Bulgarian passport and a UAE passport, was also recovered from the residence where synthetic drugs have also been recovered. We're not very sure about the value of the synthetic drugs that were basically recovered by the Turkish police. We have now also got inside details of the entire operation that was carried out, in which we are being told a face ID, which is a Kuwait face ID, Bulgarian passport have also been seized from Dola, which is another indication of the fact that perhaps he was using this as a front to move around in various parts of the globe. In fact, it turns out that when using this Kuwaiti ID, he has also floated several front companies. These are shell companies that have been floated and have essentially been used to disguise goods that were being sent in through various cargo shipments.
Right, of course, Shravan. So those are the details of the entire arrest operation that was carried out by Turkey police along with National Intelligence Organization, which led to the arrest of Salim Dola, close aide of Dawood Ibrahim. Now, Shravan, you have, break it down for our viewers, the kind of things that have been recovered from this operation. But do tell us, what are the details the Republic has accessed which led to this operation being conducted in Turkey in the first place?
Well, in fact, the main lead for this entire arrest actually came in almost a year back, following the arrest of his son, who was based in UAE. He was arrested by the UAE authorities. Along with him, there's another key character who was basically arrested by the Mumbai police. In fact, this happened when a factory in which MD was basically being made. It was called the MD manufacturing facility that was being used by this man called Mohammed Sheikh, and he was taken into custody by the Mumbai police, following which we are given to understand that Salim Dola's movements were actually known to the Maharashtra police, and they then realized that there were several front companies that have been floated by Salim Dola. What was becoming perhaps a little bit more challenging is that in many places that he has gone, he's gone with various different names and various different passports, making it difficult even for the Interpol to be able to locate. A red corner notice was already issued, which was a clear indication of the fact that the moment he is basically identified in whichever country he is, it is incumbent on that government to basically carry out the arrest. And that is exactly what has happened following this joint operation that was carried out. I'm given to understand not just the local police that was basically involved in the search operation. A specialized police party was also part of this entire operation, given the fact that he is considered to be the kingpin of a drug syndicate that has been operating in Central Asia.
Right. Now, Shravan, you mentioned that Salim Dola's son was extradited to India last year. The big question is, what happens to Salim Dola now? Will he be extradited to India? Is there any process that's underway with that regard after his arrest?
Well, that part is still not very clear at this point in time, because it's just been a little less than 24 hours. In fact, we can put out this breaking news that following all the procedures, he would be now sent to a deportation center. That's what we are being told, which effectively means that there is a possibility that perhaps Maharashtra police would be sending across a team to Istanbul and carry out the procedure. We're not very sure as to when exactly that is going to happen, but in all likelihood, you would have a team going in from India, hoping that they are in a process to carry out, the extradition of Salim Dola.
All right. Thanks, Shravan, for joining us on this, giving us all the crucial details about this big operation that's now been carried out in Istanbul, leading to the arrest of Dawood Ibrahim's very close aide, Dola. In fact, now we are looking at more developments coming in. This will continue to track this news at this hour. All right, viewers, now shifting focus to another big story we're tracking at this hour. Now, Assam's Chief Minister Hemant Biswa Sharma has spoken exclusively to Republic. He says that BJP will definitely win a Bengal election, as there is consolidation of Hindu votes that has taken place in the first phase. Now, in fact, that's the big statement made by Assam's Chief Minister as far as the Bengal elections are concerned. Now, remember, the first phase has already taken place and the second phase is now due for April 29th. Listen in to this exclusive conversation.
2021 में जो सबसे ज़्यादा सीट्स आई थी भाजपा को वो नॉर्थ बंगाल इलाके से आई थी। 2026 की बात करें तो पहला चरण निकल चुका है, लेकिन जो दूसरा चरण है वो जो है वो एक तरह से परीक्षा की घड़ी है आप लोगों के लिए। दूसरा चरण क्या लगता है, कॉन्फिडेंस क्यों इतना है कि कंफर्टेबल विन होगा?
देखिए, पहला चरण में जो अच्छा वोटे हुए, रीपोलिंग तक नहीं हुए और किसी को वोट लूटने का अधिकार नहीं मिला। लास्ट टाइम क्या हुआ था, पहला चरण का वोट से ही लोगों का दिल में एक टेरर का माहौल बन चुके थे और लोग वोट देने के लिए भी घबरा गया। सेकेंड फेज में फियर साइकोसिस बहुत ज्यादा हो चुका था और टीवी ने भी जो देखा था इधर से गोली पत्थरबाजी, तो सेकेंड फेज वोटिंग में लोगों का दिल बहुत कम थे और बहुत सारा पोलिंग बूथ भी लूट चुका था। लेकिन इस बार पहला चरण से ही जो अच्छा न्यूज आने लगा कि इलेक्शन कमीशन हैज एंश्योर्ड फ्री एंड फेयर वोटिंग, यही हमारा कॉन्फिडेंस का सबसे बड़ा स्तंभ है कि फर्स्ट फेज का जो फेयर वोटिंग हुआ इनका इम्पैक्ट विल सी दिखा जाएगा इन सेकेंड फेज में और सेकेंड फेज में भी अच्छा वोटिंग हो गए। दूसरा, फर्स्ट फेज हो सेकेंड फेज हो, बंगाल में माहौल परिवर्तन का है, लोग चेंज चाहते हैं और ये अभी दिखाई देते हैं। इसीलिए मेरा मानना है कि हमारा आंकड़ा 200 तक पहुंच जाएगा।
एक आखिरी सवाल है मंता साहब, क्योंकि घुसपैठियों का मामला आप लोगों ने सबसे ज्यादा रखा है मैनिफेस्टो में भी और उस तरह से भी। झारखंड में मुझे याद है घुसपैठियों की बात बहुत ज्यादा हुई थी, लेकिन वहां पे भी ट्राइबल्स ने और मुसलमानों ने हेमंत सोरेन सरकार को चुना। लेकिन यहाँ पे क्या फर्क है?
देखिए, आज मुर्शिदाबाद में डेमोग्राफी का चेंज हुआ है, दिनाजपुर में हुआ है, मालदा में हुआ है। इसका इम्पैक्ट हर लोगों को समझने में समय लेते हैं, इसलिए जब तक अपना घर में दिखाई नहीं देते हैं लोग तब तक नहीं समझता है कि ये रियल है। लेकिन पश्चिम बांग्ला में जैसे डेमोग्राफी का परिवर्तन हो रहा है, लगभग 30% पॉपुलेशन इज नाउ मुस्लिम, अभी लोगों को ये दिखाई दे रहा है। बांग्ला में, झारखंड में हम लोग पहला बार मुद्दा उठाया था, लेकिन पश्चिम बंगाल में वी आर डिस्कसिंग दिस इशू सिंस 2014। अभी मुझे लगता है कि लोगों का बीच में काफी जागरूकता आ चुका है।
All right, viewers, that's all we could pack in this edition of Live and Breaking. Thanks so much for watching. And coming up on the other side, Raghav Chadha breaks up. Now, so to say, more than 60 Punjab MLAs are willing to back Chadha at the moment. Congress's Bhagwant Mann remains absconding after Supreme Court rejects anticipatory bail. Khera's location still not traceable. Getting you all the updates on the other side. Stay tuned to Republic TV.
Today at 6 p.m. on The Verdict 2026 with me, Gesu Bharadwaj, we decode the BJP's push for Bengal's second phase as Yogi Adityanath continues campaigning for the Bharatiya Janata Party. And also, Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Assam Chief Minister, says that TMC's time in Bengal is now up. In fact, we will also look at the all-time high voter turnout in Tamil Nadu and decode all the details about that, as ECI now says that no exit polls will be recorded until polling ends in all states. This and a lot more at 6 p.m. today.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिर्फ MDH का जल जीरा जीरा सिर्फ
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH
Character, the taste of success.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरी राजा।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before. The Indian Air Force flies more than 55 of these MiG-29 UPG jets in frontline squadrons. These planes guard the northern and western borders day and night. Earlier upgrades added new radars, engines, and digital cockpits, but the short-range missiles stayed old. Now the ASRAAM brings fire-and-forget technology. Once the pilot locks on and fires, the missile finds the target on its own, even if the jet turns away to dodge enemy fire. It also works with helmet-mounted displays, so the pilot can just look at the enemy plane through the visor and the missile follows the eyes. This high off-bore sight ability lets the jet attack from strange angles without turning the whole plane first. This upgrade matters a lot because the region stays tense. Pakistan flies JF-17 jets with modern PL-10 missiles that...
At 6 p.m. on the Verdict 2026, with me, Gesu Bhardwaj, we decode the BJP's push for Bengal's second phase as Yogi Adityanath continues campaigning for the Bharatiya Janata Party. And also, Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Assam Chief Minister, says that TMC's time in Bengal is now up. In fact, we will also look at the all-time high voter turnout in Tamil Nadu and decode all the details about that, as ECI now says that no exit polls will be recorded until polling ends in all states. This and a lot more at 6 p.m. today.
Our Pure Shahi Paneer Masala. Delicious, healthy, everyday.
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ, स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चमकी चाट।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before. The Indian Air Force flies more than 55 of these MiG-29 UPG jets in frontline squadrons. These planes guard the northern and western borders day and night. Earlier upgrades added new radars, engines, and digital cockpits, but the short-range missiles stayed old. Now the ASRAAM brings fire-and-forget technology. Once the pilot locks on and fires, the missile finds the target on its own.
प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ 8 मिनट में तैयार क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर मसाला केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है अरे मेरे राजा
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before. The Indian Air Force flies more than 55 of these MiG-29 UPG jets in frontline squadrons. These planes guard the northern and western borders day and night. Earlier upgrades added new radars, engines, and digital cockpits, but the short-range missiles stayed old. Now the ASRAAM brings fire-and-forget technology. Once the pilot locks on and fires, the missile finds the target on its own, even if the jet turns away to dodge enemy fire. It also works with helmet-mounted displays, so the pilot can just look at the enemy plane through the visor and the missile follows the eyes. This high off-bore sight ability lets...
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
A very good evening, viewers. You're watching Republic TV and I am Rakshita Mishra with you. The talks could be possible today in Pakistan. US has said that it has sent its envoys to Islamabad. And remember, we also saw the pictures of Arakchi and Asim Munir holding a meeting as well. So what's going to happen? We'll tell you all about that. And also not to forget the big story, the BJP versus Aam Aadmi Party face-off after the exodus. First, the headlines. AAP says BJP showing fake pictures of Arvind Kejriwal's house to show Rekha Gupta. AAP Aadmi Party challenges BJP to show Rekha Gupta's house now. After Raghav Chadha breaks Aam Aadmi Party, now sources say more than 60 Punjab MLAs are willing to back Raghav Chadha. Pawan Kheda absconding after Supreme Court rejects anticipatory bail. Kheda's location untraceable. Fugitive gangster terrorist Dawood Ibrahim's aide Salim Dola arrested in Turkey's Istanbul. Dola involved in running a transnational synthetic drug trafficking network. Reports say Trump sending Witkoff and Kushner to Pakistan for negotiations, but Iran says no direct talks planned with US. So we start with the breaking news we have right now, viewers. Sources are telling us that there is no direct meeting between Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi and the American delegation scheduled. Iran, in fact, says that they will not sit with the Americans till the time they set the red lines. Iranian Foreign Ministry says that they will convey the position through Pakistani officials. So there is this gap that persists between United States and Iran. And they are not really seeing eye to eye. They are not really talking about a direct conversation. So it is Pakistan, the postman, who continues to help in the exchange of the messages between both the sides. Now, Iran, in fact, says that it will convey its position via Pakistan officials. The previous talks in Islamabad had also failed, remember. And this time we have Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff landing in Islamabad later today. So we expect that there will be some talks, but not directly. We, in fact, are being joined by... All right, we have a reporter joining us live on the broadcast from Islamabad. We have Irfan Sadozai, journalist at Dawn News, joining us from Islamabad. Thank you so much, Irfan, for joining us. And what's really happening? Again, we see that they are not, what we understand as per our sources, that direct talks is not going to happen between Iran and United States.
Thank you very much. The just news emerged that Iran once again refused to talk to United States directly. Even though, Iranian Foreign Ministry, they have declared it, Abbas Araghchi's visit to Pakistan is an official visit, and they said on its first leg they will visit to Pakistan and then they will go to Moscow and Oman. But last night there were a lot of hopes that the Iranian delegation would stay here and they will have, face-to-face talks with U.S. delegation. And the reason why Donald Trump, he announced that, their one of the closest friend, David Witkoff and his relative, they'll be traveling to Pakistan, and there were chances that, DJ Vance, he would be staying in America, and if there is any need, he would come to Islamabad. But Iranian, once again, they have taken a very strong decision that they would not have direct talks with United States, and that means there would be, no further movement so far. Despite that, they have a good meeting with Field Marshal Asim Munir, and there were a lot of hopes in Islamabad that Iranian would agree, to move forward. But, they're saying that, even they are repeating that, US, they are asking for excessive demands, that I believe they do not want to compromise on their nuclear issue. So that is the only reason, Iranians showing cold shoulder so far.
All right. In fact, we also have Deputy Executive Editor Shavan Sen also joining us on the broadcast. Is joining us from the newsroom. Okay, we'll just connect with him in a few moments from now. But Irfan, I'll go across to you again. The fact that Iran's positioning, you see, continues to be, the tone and tenor continues to be aggressive. They continue to say that whatever is happening at Strait of Hormuz, basically, in fact, I would just directly quote from what we are getting right now. The Iranian side says that if the U.S. continues, and this is from the IRGC headquarters, if U.S. continues its blockade, piracy, and maritime robbery in the region, it can be certain that it will face a decisive response from Iran's powerful armed forces. So the Strait of Hormuz remains one of the biggest flashpoints, isn't it, Irfan?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Along with nuclear, Strait of Hormuz is one of the top point where both the countries, they have not reached to any conclusion so far. But I believe that, rest of the powers like Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman, he's also in touch with, Asim Munir and Iran, but they're not showing it off. But I believe that if Iran does not, come to table, it would be really destructive for them as well, because Pakistan has played its role, and rest of the countries, particularly Egypt and Qatar, few other countries, they have also played their role and they have done their best. But Iran is still, insists that there should be a level playing field for both the countries, and they want United States not to threat them and, accept their demands in Strait of Hormuz. And they also want, equal treatment, in the issue of nuclear. But on the other hand, Donald Trump, he's threatening. If you see his social media statements, he's just saying, that if Iran do not agree, there'll be a lot of bombs, and Iran would be destroyed and their civilization would be removed from this planet. So this is really hurting Iran. And Pakistan has done whatever it could do from both ends. Asim Munir, Field Marshal Asim Munir, is doing his best. He agreed Iranian top leadership that they should come back to table, and they also, convinced United States that talks is the only solution to have peace in the region. But on the one hand, Donald Trump is threatening, and the other hand, Iranian, they're not going to listen Donald Trump. So I believe that if Russia and China, they come, forward, and they convince Iran to have direct talks. Otherwise, currently, I believe that, Iran is not agreeing to have direct talks with United States.
Right. Irfan, just stay on with us. So we have more updates coming in. So as we told you, viewers, there aren't going to be direct talks. At least that's what Iran says. Now, what we're learning is that Iran has put out its demands before Pakistan. Pakistan has now conveyed that to Washington, D.C. That's the big news we have right now. This is as per reports we've gathered. Iran has conveyed their reservations to Pakistan, and it has delivered Tehran's demands to Pakistan. In fact, Pakistan has also now conveyed Washington's demands to Iran. Now, Irfan, I want to understand from you if this has happened, but you see that in a desperate move, Witkoff and Kushner have been rushed despite no assurances from Iran that they are not really showing interest in talking one-on-one on the table. What are they really going to do if they are not ready to even talk face to face? What's really happening? Because we see United States is very, very desperate and is scrambling to have a conversation, have a dialogue as soon as possible. But Iran remains very, very steadfast in its demands. And also, if you could just tell us about the demands that have been put forth from Tehran.
There'll be a lot of embarrassment for United States, if their delegation arrives in Islamabad and Iran, they do not agree. I believe, Iran, they have to come on the table. But it would be a lot of embarrassment for the United States, but they are very clever enough, and they would not, take off unless until they are not given a surety that Iran would have, direct talks. Their technical teams, they're already in Islamabad, 13 planes, they arrived here, and one of them left back, and rest of the team is here. That means they are having a sort of discussion with Iranians in the back door. So they have agreed on certain points, but one or 2 points, Iranian, they do not want to compromise. One is on on the top of the agenda is Strait of Hormuz, and other one is nuclear. So there is no set formula so far. To best of my knowledge, that how nuclear issue would be tackled. If you talk about Strait of Hormuz, it can be decided. The Pakistan's role, the Iran's role, the US roles, and China's role, it can be decided. But on the nuclear issue, how it would be handed, to whom it would be handed, and what kind of flexibility United States and rest of the countries, particularly Europe, would be agreed to give to Iran. And they want to make sure that Iran should not be capable of developing nuclear.
Right.
Again, so it can be a big threat for Israel and the Europe as well. So there are a lot of complications which needs to be solved, but the technical teams, they are doing their work, but they are waiting to have a final, talks which would be held, with the second-tier leadership. And if they agree, then for sure Donald Trump would come and he would sign that truce.
Okay, Irfan, stay on with us. We also have Shravan Sen joining us from the newsroom. Shravan, well, if Iran is not ready for direct talks, then what are Witkoff and Kushner really coming for? What is going to happen next?
Well, it does appear that some things are under the wraps right now. The very fact that Arakchi basically decides to go on what is being called as a bilateral talk with Pakistan, it doesn't seem like that, given the fact that at the same time you also have a delegation from Washington really coming in. So there is something that what meets the eye at this stage. Given the fact that some reports are also suggesting that there are certain demands that have been made by the Iranians. Now, what kind of demands are they? Is it got to do with the nuclear enrichment, which they've always been saying that they're unwilling to budge right now? And secondly is with regards to control of Strait of Hormuz, because that's where they believe, the Iranians certainly believe that they do not want any joint control with the Americans. Now, how exactly would the Americans really respond? Given the fact that you have certain changes that have been made to the delegation, the very fact that you have Jared Kushner and Steve Witkoff coming in. Earlier, in fact, Rakshita, when we spoke to a member of the Iranian delegation, who basically narrated what really transpired in Islamabad in the first meeting that took place, he had made a very significant point. And the point was that J.D. Vance did not even have the authority. When asked what does he really mean, he says that J.D. Vance was actually taking calls from Benjamin Netanyahu, and it was Israel who was dictating what would be the terms of the negotiation, which is exactly what the Iranians have a problem with. Perhaps that seems to be taken, that cognizance has been taken by the Americans right now, and that is the reason why you don't have J.D. Vance being part of that delegation. What would be the composition of it? How would the authority be like? That's not really known at this stage, but it does seem that something is brewing right now, keeping in mind that Arakchi is already there. You have another delegation coming in from United States of America, and Pakistan is becoming the pigeon right now between both the countries, taking one country's demands to the others and hoping that they would be the postman for quite some time, till the time these two countries agree to be on the negotiating table.
But what really happens if the talks don't, or rather this communication doesn't really go the way it should go, if it's not successful? What are we really looking at then?
Well, in fact, we are staring at perhaps yet another crisis right now, because it is only going to become untenable for the Americans, because they certainly need an off-ramp. And more importantly, militarily speaking, yes, they do have the option of escalating. But can they really do this politically, given the fact that there is enough murmurs in Washington right now about, the fact that, Trump is basically losing the war, and more importantly, his numbers are essentially going down. And that is something that does not really augur well, keeping in mind the midterm elections that are also going to take place, which does not really augur well for President Trump right now. And in terms of the energy crisis that you're really staring at, that is something that the European countries are also going to add some more pressure on this. Irfan, just a quick question before I let you go, with regards to what exactly is the plan? Because officially Iran is saying that this is a bilateral talk that they're having with Pakistan, and this is nothing to do with the negotiations. But it seems some reports are suggesting that when the meeting took place with Asim Munir, Arakchi has given a list of demands and also certain reservations. In turn, Asim Munir has given the demands that have been made by Washington. We don't know what are the details of these demands that are being made. Is there any clarity in terms of what exactly has the Americans really demanded from the Iranians now?
They have kept it very quiet, and they have not, issued any kind of statement that, what Iran has demanded and what United States, it has declared that it's a red line, and, beyond that, that would not be acceptable. But I believe that Iranian, they want to have complete control on Strait of Hormuz. One of my, closest friend in diplomatic circle, he just informed me, it's an unofficial, but, it is one of their demands that, they want to have complete control. And, one of their allies is China. And I believe that United States, is also hurting China. So the reason why, Iran cannot take a solo decision, without consulting Iran or Russia. The reason why, the Iranian foreign minister, he wants to visit Russia after Islamabad. So he just want to give an impression that, they have their allies and, and they don't, it's not the Iran only, against America. So there are other countries as well. So Islamabad is playing a role of just facilitating and negotiating. So Islamabad cannot guarantee, which is not, given from the United States. So it's a very difficult situation for Pakistan. So if Iran, agrees on certain points, so, Asim Munir, if he conveys the same message to the Donald Trump and Donald Trump does not agree, so it becomes a very complicated situation here in Islamabad. It's been 7 to 8 days that Islamabad is completely locked. People have high hopes that there would be direct talks and issue would be solved. But if it is not solved, it would move in the right direction. But Iran has shown cold shoulder and it has not compromised on any of its points. And on the other hand, Donald Trump, if you have seen his statements, it's really hurting Pakistan and Iran as well. So far, Iran, the two demands which are very clear. One is nuclear and other one is Hormuz, but nuclear can be decided later on. But initially, Strait of Hormuz, it has become a big issue, and Iran, it wants the complete control actually. So if United States agrees on it, but later on it can be a big problem for Iran as well.
All right. Many thanks, Irfan, for joining us, and Shravan for joining us from the newsroom, where we'll continue to get you each and every update, viewers, on this developing situation as the US envoys also head to Islamabad, viewers. In the meantime, getting in breaking news, we shift focus back to the political face-off, the war that has broken out between the Aam Aadmi Party and the BJP. Now, several of the Aam Aadmi Party workers are demonstrating their outrage, venting their anger, in fact, against Ace, former cricketer, and Rajya Sabha MP Harbhajan Singh, one of the 7 MPs who switched sides to the BJP. They have defaced his residence by writing Gaddar, that is a traitor, that means traitor, on the walls. You can see the visuals from his residence in Jalandhar of Punjab. Incident comes amid the deepening political crisis, and Harbhajan Singh was one of those MPs who've quit the Aam Aadmi Party, along with Raghav Chadha, Sandeep Pathak, Swati Maliwala, and Rajinder Gupta, Ashok Mittal, Vikram Sahani. They've shifted their allegiance, and that has triggered sharp reactions from the party workers and the leaders. You can see this video that has been written. In fact, since yesterday, we saw Aam Aadmi Party from even the Chief Minister, Bhagwant Mann, calling all of them traitors of Punjab. And you can see this this writing that is on the wall of Harbhajan Singh's residence. Meanwhile, we have the Aam Aadmi Party again training the guns on BJP after BJP's Parvesh Verma had released images that allegedly shows a lavish house that is tagged as Sheesh Mahal by BJP, and BJP linked it to Arvind Kejriwal. Now, Aam Aadmi Party calls the visuals fake and daring, and they dared the BJP leaders to open their own homes to the public and show what even Chief Minister Rekha Gupta, where is she living? And Aam Aadmi Party leaders, in fact, are raising questions over the residence of Chief Minister Rekha Gupta and others, challenging them to show their houses. Now, rejecting the BJP's claims, AAP leader Atishri has said that the pictures being circulated do not belong to Kejriwal's residence. So this is being, viewers, shown as Sheesh Mahal 2, Sheesh Mahal 2.0. That's what the BJP is showing this as. Anurag Dhanda of Aam Aadmi Party dismissed the allegations as well. He called it baseless, reiterating that the images have no connection with Arvind Kejriwal. And in fact, we have more and more statements that have come out from the Aam Aadmi Party. We have the chief national spokesperson also, Priyanka Kakkar of the Aam Aadmi Party, strongly criticizing the BJP, saying that the pictures that were shown by the Delhi minister and BJP are available on Pinterest and were projected that these are pictures of residents of Arvind Kejriwal, which is a big lie, she says, and another attempt to defame Arvind Kejriwal. Listen in.
देखिए, ये 7 सांसद नहीं, ये 7 गद्दार हैं जिनको आम आदमी पार्टी ने राज्यसभा भेजा पंजाब के लोगों के मुद्दे उठाने के लिए। इन गद्दारों ने उस पार्टी का साथ छोड़कर उस पार्टी का साथ देना जरूरी समझा जिसने हमेशा पंजाब के लोगों को आतंकवादी बुलाया है, जिसने जो जिम्मेदार है 750 किसानों की शहादत की, जो जिम्मेदार है किसान के बच्चों के ऊपर गाड़ियां चलाने की, ये आज उस पार्टी के साथ जाके खड़े हो गए। ये बेहद दुर्भाग्यपूर्ण है।
Meanwhile, Raghav Chadha, viewers, who in fact is said to have led this exodus of from the Aam Aadmi Party, he says that Sheesh Mahal was one of the main reasons for Aam Aadmi Party's defeat. But today, not even a year has passed since the Delhi elections ended, and Sheesh Mahal Part 2 has come. He says that he wonders how the few remaining good workers of AAP will respond when people in the streets and localities ask them questions about it. In fact, Raghav Chadha goes on to say that Aam Aadmi Party should introspect and think about it.
देशभक्त आदमी जिसने आम आदमी पार्टी को अपने खून पसीने से सींचा और बड़ी उम्मीदों के साथ आम आदमी पार्टी से जुड़ा था, आज हर वो व्यक्ति या तो आम आदमी पार्टी को छोड़ चुका है या छोड़ रहा है। क्योंकि हर ईमानदार मेहनतकश आदमी को ये लगता है कि अब आम आदमी पार्टी में काम करने की जगह नहीं बची और आम आदमी पार्टी अब एक ऐसे गलत रास्ते पर चल रही है जिससे कोई अपना नाता नहीं रखना चाहता। इसी के चलते एक एक करके तमाम लीडर्स ने आम आदमी पार्टी को छोड़ दिया। बाबा साहब अंबेडकर द्वारा बनाया गया संविधान ये ताकत देता है, ये प्रावधान देता है चुने हुए सांसदों को कि यदि उन्हें ऐसा महसूस हो कि उनकी पार्टी करप्ट और कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड हाथों में चली गई है या पार्टी गलत रास्ते पर जा रही है, तो वे अपनी पार्टी को त्याग सकते हैं, अधिकांश सांसद अगर चाहें, और उसके लिए 2/3 या 2/3 से ज्यादा की लिमिट तय करी गई। इस केस में 1 नहीं, 2 नहीं, 3 नहीं, 4 नहीं, 5 नहीं, 6 नहीं, 7 सांसद मिलकर आम आदमी पार्टी को त्याग रहे हैं, छोड़ रहे हैं, क्योंकि वे मानते हैं कि आम आदमी पार्टी करप्ट और कॉम्प्रोमाइज्ड हाथों में जा चुकी है। और जो लोग ये कह रहे हैं, खास तौर पे आम आदमी पार्टी के नेता, कि डर कर चले गए आम आदमी पार्टी छोड़कर, हम डर कर नहीं, डिसअपॉइंटेड महसूस कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। हम डर कर नहीं, डिसएंचेंटेड फील कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। हम डर कर नहीं, डिसगस्टेड फील कर कर गए आम आदमी पार्टी से। और दूसरी महत्वपूर्ण बात, आज दिल्ली में शीश महल पार्ट 2 बनकर आया है, कंस्ट्रक्ट हुआ है, और उसकी कुछ तस्वीरें सामने आई हैं। जब पहला वाला शीश महल बना था, उसकी वजह से मेरा यह मानना है कि आम आदमी पार्टी की छवि तार-तार हुई थी। और अगर सबसे बड़ा कारण दिल्ली चुनाव हारने का कुछ था, आम आदमी पार्टी की हार का जो मुख्य कारण था, उसमें वो शीश महल था। लेकिन आज दिल्ली चुनाव समाप्त हुए 1 साल भी अभी पूरा नहीं हुआ और शीश महल पार्ट 2 बन के सामने आ गया और बड़ी आलीशान बना है, उसकी तस्वीरें कुछ सामने आई हैं। तो मुझे लगता है आम आदमी पार्टी को इन तमाम विषयों पर चिंतन करना चाहिए। और न जाने अब कैसे आम आदमी पार्टी के अभी भी जो बचे कुचे भले कार्यकर्ता रह गए हैं, वो कैसे जवाब देंगे गली मोहल्लों में लोगों से। जब लोग शीश महल के बारे में उनसे सवाल पूछेंगे, तो आम आदमी पार्टी को उस पर आत्मचिंतन करना चाहिए और उस पर विचार करना चाहिए।
All right, viewers, with that, it's a wrap on this edition, but don't go anywhere. We continue to get you the latest updates coming in as far as the case surrounding Pawan Khera is concerned. He remains absconding after Supreme Court rejected the anticipatory bail. In fact, Khera's location is still untraceable. Getting more on that and much more. Stay tuned.
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट,
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार विमल बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी एवरीडे।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before. The Indian Air Force flies more than 55 of these MiG-29 UPG jets in frontline squadrons. These planes guard the northern and western borders day and night. Earlier upgrades added new radars, engines, and digital cockpits, but the short-range missiles stayed old. Now the ASRAAM brings fire-and-forget technology. Once the pilot locks on and fires, the missile finds the target on its own, even if the jet turns away to dodge enemy fire. It also works with helmet-mounted displays, so the pilot can just look at the enemy plane through the visor and the missile follows the eyes. This high off-bore sight ability lets the jet attack from strange angles without turning the whole plane first. This upgrade matters a lot because the region stays tense. Pakistan flies JF-17 jets with modern PL-10 missiles that reach farther and lock on quicker. China uses even better systems on its J-20 stealth fighters and other planes. In a real dogfight, the old MiG-29 with R-73 could lose the first shot. With ASRAAM, the Indian pilots get longer reach, faster lock, and higher chance to survive. The missile also works well against low-flying drones that are hard to see on radar. Many experts see drone swarms as the new big threat in air wars, and this upgrade gives the MiG-29 a strong answer. The ASRAAM already proved itself on Indian planes. The Air Force fitted it successfully on the homemade LCA Tejas and the Jaguar fighters. Those tests went smooth, so putting it on the MiG-29 UPG is a natural next step. The request includes new launchers, special tools, testing equipment, and training for ground crews and pilots. Once the work finishes, the whole fleet will get the missiles step by step. This keeps the MiG-29 useful for many more years until newer Indian planes, like more Tejas and the advanced medium combat aircraft, join in big numbers. Upgrading the existing MiG-29 fleet saves huge money compared to buying fresh fighters from abroad. It also shows a smart way of mixing technology. India still uses Russian planes but adds Western weapons when they fit better. After supply problems from global sanctions, this diversification makes sure the Air Force never runs short of parts or missiles. The MiG-29 UPG with
India's real estate story is no longer just a domestic narrative. It's now being shaped by global disruption, infrastructure expansion, and evolving buyer aspiration, all at the same time. Now, from international markets reacting to geopolitical shifts to infrastructure corridors opening up new investment destinations within India and cities recalibrating affordability as the demand moves up the value chain. The sector is entering a far more dynamic and interconnected phase. Welcome to our estate, Building the Nation. My name is Nayan and today is the 10th episode and also where we are tracking 3 key developments that are shaping the market this week. How the West Asia crisis could impact Dubai's real estate and potentially redirect luxury investments into India. What the Delhi-Dehradun Expressway means for the emerging real estate corridors and land value transformations. And why Hyderabad is seeing a surge in 2 crore homes, raising important questions around affordability and infrastructure readiness. Let's get you all the top stories.
Rising geopolitical tensions across West Asia are beginning to cast a shadow on global investment flows. And the impact is now being closely tracked in Dubai's high-end real estate market. Over the past 2 years, Dubai has emerged as a magnet for global wealth with record-breaking luxury property transactions driven by international investors, including a significant share from India. However, with uncertainty building in the region, early signals suggest a degree of recalibration. Market watchers indicate that some high-net-worth Indian investors are beginning to reassess overseas exposure while exploring opportunities closer home. This comes at a time when India's luxury housing segment is gaining ground in cities such as Mumbai, Delhi NCR and Bengaluru, with developers scaling up premium offerings, branded residences and gated communities tailored to global standards. As global volatility reshapes investor sentiment, the movement of capital is becoming more nuanced, balancing opportunity with stability and in some cases bringing the focus back to domestic markets. The Delhi-Dehradun Expressway is fast emerging as more than just a connectivity upgrade. Designed to significantly reduce travel time between Delhi and Dehradun, the corridor is beginning to influence real estate activity across multiple regions along its route. Locations such as Saharanpur, Baghpat and parts of Meerut are seeing increased developer interest, with land parcels being repositioned for plotted developments, townships and logistical infrastructure. Improved accessibility is also expected to strengthen demand for second homes and weekend destinations, particularly with fast access to Uttarakhand's hill regions. At the same time, better road connectivity is opening up new possibilities for commercial and warehousing activity along the belt. With infrastructure laying the foundation, these emerging micro markets are gradually finding a place on the investment map, reshaping how and where future growth is likely to unfold. Hyderabad is witnessing a notable shift in its housing market, with a rising share of residential transactions now concentrated in the 2 crore rupees plus segment. Premium apartments, gated communities and villa projects are driving this trend, supported by strong demand from the city's expanding base of high-income professionals. The city's relatively lower entry cost compared to other metros, combined with robust infrastructure and a thriving IT ecosystem, has positioned it as a key destination for luxury housing growth. At the same time, the surge in high-value developments is bringing attention to evolving market dynamics. With developers increasingly focusing on premium inventory, affordability pressures are becoming more visible in the mid-income segment. Infrastructure expansion, including metro connectivity and road networks, is also being closely watched as it works to keep pace with rapid urban growth. As supply continues to build in the upper segment, the balance between demand absorption and future development will remain central to how the market shapes up in the coming quarters.
While markets and infrastructure continue to drive the momentum, it's also the people behind these developments who are shaping how real estate evolves on the ground. In Real Talk today, we turn the spotlight on Polomi Floric, a brand that reflects the growing demand for design-led, lifestyle-driven living spaces. Now, through this conversation, we explore how consumer expectations are changing and how developers are responding with more curated, experience-first offerings. Here's the conversation.
So wonderful to meet you, Prashant, again. We met at Delhi at the Republic Studio, I think a couple of months back. And I'm so thrilled to be here at such a wonderful place. So I remember Polomi is less about construction and more about customers and lifestyle and commitment. And I just want to take a step back before we get into what's happening here in Bangalore to just refresh what Polomi stands for as far as you are concerned.
So 2005 was when we launched Polomi Waterfront, our first villa project, and those are the best years for real estate in Hyderabad as well. And then post which we saw the agitation for the separate state coming in, so the market did slow down a little bit. But we continued to do our work. We've done multiple projects in Hyderabad, having done Polomi Aerospace, which was the best villa project from, we got an award from CRISIL for that in 2014, followed by Polomi 90, which was a well-accepted gated community in a single standalone apartment complex. Then we've done Polomi Avante, which was a 4.5 acre property, 470 units, handed over about 2 years back, happy customers living and appreciating the life there. Currently we have Polomi Palazzo, our landmark project in Hyderabad, which is an uber luxury apartment of 55 floors tall. We've got very good reviews for it. We've been able to sell very well. So that's under construction, due for handing over mid of next year.
How do you look at the Bangalore market, considering Bangalore is a pretty far more competitive market? Of course, it is a very large market. It is one of the top 3 residential or top 3 real estate markets, top in residential, top in commercial office, around 30 million of square feet, office leasing happening every year. So there are a lot of pluses that Bangalore has. But what has been the reason behind coming to Bangalore and then, starting your project in North Bangalore?
See, we've been in this business for about 20 years, so as part of our growth strategy, we did want to expand, and natural choice was Bangalore because a lot of similarities to Hyderabad, so we chose Bangalore. North Bangalore predominantly was because we studied that the North Bangalore market has a huge potential, and we foresee the next couple of years North Bangalore is going to grow humongously. So that's what we thought should probably help us. I think we've been very lucky to get this parcel of land. When we acquired it about 2 years back, I looked around the area and I made a decision in a fraction of a second that this is going to be our first project. And what probably helped me was the infrastructure which is already around in this location. Right? You have a wonderful mall, you have a hotel, you have restaurants, you have already people living in the vicinity, schools are there, hospitals are nearby. So all these infrastructure which is already there would definitely help a buyer who would like to come and stay in this complex. So definitely I think all these inputs did entice us to choose this location.
Prashant, it's quite a serendipity. When I was coming to this project, Floric, I suddenly saw that I'm entering Bharatiya City. Being just adjacent to Bharatiya City means, this location is really fantastic. And I would really want to know more about this project where we are standing, what went behind designing this project, what is the USP of this project, and any other thing that you are very passionate about this project.
So this is a 9-acre property that we picked up about a year back and finally launched it shortly. So this is 4 towers that we have here, about 14.5 lakh square feet of saleable space, consisting of 4 towers. So in phase 1, we are launching 2 towers, and phase 2 will be launching another 2 towers with a gap of about 4 to 6 months between these 2 phases. We also have about 40,000 square feet of club space for entertainment and amenities here. So basically, we are very passionate about open spaces and greenery. That's been our core strength for all of.
Prashant, I have heard of landscapes, I've heard of hardscapes, but in such a long career, I haven't heard of bloomscapes. So a lot of credit to you for this creativity, and I would want to know more about it and what's behind this thought.
See, Floric is all about floral theme, right? So as part of that floral theme, we've tried to ensure that we have as many number of floral related plants in the project. So that's why if you see here, we have almost about 22 varieties of flowers in our project. So we've tried to cater to all the local flowers that used to be there much earlier, which are actually missing these days. So we've tried to, jasmine is something which is very popular here in Bangalore. So all the local flowers is what we're trying to get into this project here.
Any future plans on Bangalore and anything else on Polemy which you have in mind as we progress? What next?
So Bangalore definitely is a very promising city, and we've come here not for just one project. We're going to be here for many years. So we want to take one step at a time. We're just planning to launch this project shortly, and once we see the success of this project, and definitely we do have plans. We have started scouting for other properties, but the process of conceptualization to the launch is definitely at least 2 years away. So I think within the next 2 years, we should hopefully see another project of Polemy in Bangalore. But for now, it's Polemy Floric, which is our focus for Bangalore.
It will be a memorable venture, for sure. Best wishes to Polemy, best wishes to Polemy Floric. And I can seriously say, because I understand this micro market, I've worked here as a developer, you are really going to do very well. Best wishes to Polemy and to Floric.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
From investment to design, there's a clear shift in how spaces are being imagined today. Now, in What's New, we explore a trend that's quietly gaining momentum. Japandi aesthetics meet Indian heritage, blending minimalism with warmth and functionality with cultural depth. Now, it's a movement towards soft luxury, where simplicity, materials, and mindful design come together to create an intuitive living space. Take a closer look.
Walk into a modern Indian home today, and the first thing you feel is calm. Not noise, not clutter, just space that lets you breathe. But stay there for a moment longer, and you begin to notice something deeper. Because today's urban home owner is searching for balance. A home that feels peaceful but not empty, modern but not disconnected from roots. So what does this look like in real homes? Furniture is low, clean and functional, made from light woods, cane and natural materials. Walls are mostly minimal, but instead of being blank, they carry one powerful story, maybe a Worli mural or a handcrafted textile that becomes the hero of the space. Even the decor is intentional. Nothing excessive, nothing random, just pieces that mean something. Because today, homes are no longer about showing how much you can. They are about showing who you are. And this trend proves one thing: minimalism does not have to be cold. When blended with Indian heritage, it becomes warm, personal, and deeply meaningful. There was a time when the perfect home meant white walls, glossy floors, and picture-perfect symmetry. But today, that idea of luxury is quietly changing. Because after long days, busy lives, and constant stress, people don't want homes that look like showrooms. They want homes that feel like comfort. And that's where the new trend comes in: warm minimalism and soft luxury. It is clean, still uncluttered, but now it's softer, warmer, more human.
Nowadays, I am seeing a shift in how people are perceiving their homes. It's not white and glossy anymore. The shift is more towards minimalism, which is warm. It's more towards, earthy finishes and an earthy look. And it's all because there's a psychological shift, not a design shift.
The colors are inspired by nature. Earthy terracotta, sandy beige, muted greens, replacing the cold whites and greys we have seen for years. Walls are no longer shiny or perfect. Instead, they have texture, finishes like lime wash and plaster that catch light and add quiet depth to the room. Furniture is evolving too. Less sharp edges, more curves, from rounded sofas to arched doorways. Everything feels more fluid, more inviting. Even fabrics are changing. Soft, tactical materials like linen and buckle that makes you want to sit down and stay. Because today, luxury is not about how expensive something looks.
And the light of our country, especially Asia, this part of the world, it's very bright, unlike the West. So the West might prefer glossy white finishes which look very good on Pinterest or Instagram. But the sunlight we have is so stark and harsh. We need warmer colors to make our surroundings look richer and inviting.
It's about how it makes you feel safe, relaxed, and at ease. And that's the shift we are seeing in real estate today. Homes are becoming less about perfection and more about presence, spaces that don't just impress, but truly embrace when you walk in.
And beyond design and development, real estate is also shaped by decisions, risks, and lessons from the ground. In Clarity Corner today, we bring to you a war story by Ashwinder R. Singh ji, offering a closer look at the realities of the sector and the insights that don't always make it to the headlines. Here's that perspective.
In a world full of noise, clarity is the only real advantage. I'm Ashwinder R. Singh. Let's get to the point. Let's turn to a global development that seems distant, but it is not: the Iran conflict. Because in today's world, what happens in one region does not stay there. It flows through oil, inflation, interest rates, and capital. Let's start with oil. India imports over 80% of its crude requirement. Any disruption in the Middle East pushes oil prices higher, and when oil rises, construction costs rise, logistic costs rise, project costs rise. That is the first impact on real estate. The second is inflation. Higher oil prices feed inflation, and inflation delays interest rate cuts, which means home loans remain expensive, and that can slow demand in the short term. So yes, geopolitical tensions create near-term pressure. But that is only one side of the story. There is another trend unfolding quietly. In times of global uncertainty, capital looks for stability, and India today is no longer an emerging story. It is an anchoring economy. We are seeing stronger institutional inflows, rising NRI participation, and sustained demand in premium housing. At the same time, rental markets remain firm with expected growth of 5 to 7% across major cities. Supply pipelines remain disciplined. Demand remains structural. So while global events may create volatility, they are not altering India's direction. If anything, they are reinforcing it, because every global disruption is quietly doing one thing. It is repositioning India from an alternative market to a preferred market. So what is the real impact of a conflict like this? Short-term, caution, cost pressure, delayed decision. Medium-term, selective resilience, stronger capital flows, premium market strength. Long-term, a deeper shift, India moving steadily towards becoming one of the world's leading real estate economies. And clarity is understanding this, that while the world may be uncertain, India's trajectory is not.
From global cues and infrastructure growth to evolving design philosophies and ground realities, real estate today is being shaped by multiple forces converging at once. That's all that we have for you in the 10th episode of Our Estate. My name is Nayan. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more stories and sharper insights from across the real estate landscape.
प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिम MDH का जलजीरा जीरा सिम
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
MDH
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा आर प्योर मसाला।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before. The Indian Air Force flies more than 55 of these MiG-29 UPG jets in frontline squadrons. These planes guard the northern and western borders day and night. Earlier upgrades added new radars, engines, and digital cockpits, but the short-range missiles stayed old. Now the ASRAAM brings fire-and-forget technology. Once the pilot locks on and fires, the missile finds the target on its own, even if the jet turns away to dodge enemy fire. It also works with helmet-mounted displays, so the pilot can just look at the enemy plane through the visor and the missile follows the eyes. This high off-bore sight ability lets the jet attack from strange angles without turning the whole plane first. This upgrade matters a lot because the region stays tense. Pakistan flies JF-17 jets with modern PL-10 missiles that reach farther and lock on quicker.
Today at 6 p.m. on The Verdict 2026 with me, Gesu Bharadwaj, we decode the BJP's push for Bengal's second phase as Yogi Adityanath continues campaigning for the Bharatiya Janata Party. And also, Himanta Biswa Sarma, the Assam Chief Minister, says that TMC's time in Bengal is now up. In fact, we will also look at the all-time high voter turnout in Tamil Nadu and decode all the details about that, as ECI now says that no exit polls will be recorded until polling ends in all states. This and a lot more at 6 p.m. today.
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील टीएमटी बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच, लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद यही तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा, क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
राजा और मसाला।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBDA replaces the old Russian R-73 that pilots used for years. The R-73 could only reach targets 10 to 15 kilometers away, which forced pilots to fly too close to the enemy and take big risks. The ASRAAM changes all that. It can hit targets more than 25 kilometers away, almost double the old range. It flies at Mach 3 speed and uses a smart infrared seeker that ignores enemy flares and jamming better than before. The Indian Air Force flies more than 55 of these MiG-29 UPG jets in frontline squadrons. These planes guard the northern and western borders day and night.
From Asia's largest news headquarters, setting the agenda for Bharat. You're watching Republic.
Hello and a very warm welcome. You're watching The Verdict 2026. I'm Gesu Bhardwaj and this is Republic TV. We're getting you all the details from the high voltage second phase campaigning that's on in West Bengal right now, and also the voter record that was broken in Tamil Nadu, and also the ECI saying that no exit polls until all assembly elections come to an end. We're getting you all the details. Here are your headlines. Take a look. ECI suspends and launches inquiry on 5 top cops in Diamond Harbour. Police for serious misconduct and failure to maintain neutrality. After addressing multiple rallies, Home Minister Amit Shah is set to hold a massive roadshow in Siliguri next. UP's Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath campaigns in Bengal, says Bengal will soon be liberated from TMC's grip.
We are discussing this issue since 2014. अभी मुझे लगता है कि लोगों का बीच में काफी जागरूकता आ चुका है.
Speaking exclusively to Republic, while in Bengal, Assam's Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma says Hindu vote consolidation will carry the BJP to victory in the state. After multiple setbacks from both the top court and Guwahati High Court, Pawan Kherab scorns fearing arrest over his remarks on Chief Minister Himanta's wife. Mamta, while addressing a rally, says she will file a complaint against Amit Shah over his violent remarks, says Home Minister should not make such statements. Viewers, before we start the discussion on the verdict 2026, let's quickly get into a breaking development. Now, gunmen have staged simultaneous attacks in and even outside Mali's capital, as per the Mali army. Now, militants staged attacks in Mali's capital of Bamako and across several locations in the interiors of the country on Saturday morning, just this morning. Now, this is as per the statement that's been released by Mali's army that said a coordinated assault involving multiple groups took place just this morning. These are the visuals of destruction to show you the scale of the attacks that we're speaking about. 2 loud explosions and sustained gunfire were heard shortly before 6 a.m. just this morning. Now, this happened near Mali's main military base, Kati, outside the capital of Bamako, and soldiers were deployed immediately to block off roads in the area. Now, this also has been confirmed by a Reuters report. There was similar unrest at around the same time in the central town of Sevare and even the town of Kidal and the city of Gao in northern Mali. There's gunfire everywhere. Those are the quotes of witnesses from Mali. Now, Mali, remember, is battling insurgencies by the West African affiliates of Al-Qaeda and even the Islamic State. It is also, in fact, on the other hand, grappled with a much longer history of Tuareg-led rebellion in the north. Mali's army, in a statement, said that unidentified terrorist groups attacked several positions in the capital and even elsewhere across the country without, in fact, specifying the locations. It, in fact, mentions that the fighting is ongoing and they've asked their population to remain calm. Joining me on the broadcast is my colleague Ishita. Ishita, speak to us about the details. You know, we know Mali has been ongoing. They have been facing unrest for yesteryears, but this time around, these unidentified terrorists could also have links with Al-Qaeda. Speak to us about the details, Ishita.
Right, of course. Again, so as we know, Mali has been facing insurgency, and now we're looking at these several attacks that are taking place all across the landscape of Mali, not just in the capital city. Now, we have seen certain high-profile targets being hit, not just the capital city's airport, but also an explosion has taken place outside the defense minister's house. Now, these are terror groups affiliated with Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, which are engaging in these attacks, carrying out explosions and fighting with the country's armed forces. Now, as of the statement which has been released released by Mali's armed forces. The fighting is still underway. It's taking place all across the landscape, not just in the capital city, but several outskirts, several pockets, in fact, outside the capital city of Bamako have also been hit. Now, this is fighting that's essentially taking place between the terror groups which are associated with Al-Qaeda and Islamic State and the armed forces of the country. So we have seen certain high-profile targets being also hit, but according to the statement released by the country's army, the defense minister is currently safe despite the attack carried out outside his residence, and fighting is still underway. We'll of course have to see how this pans out for the country, which has been battling insurgency for several years now.
Right, Ishita. In fact, we know this is not new. Mali has been, battling attacks from Al-Qaeda. And now, this time around, even in fact, the Islamic State has stepped into the picture. We looked at the visuals of what is coming. In fact, we are trying to get a lot many more voices from, Mali. We are trying to specifically get voices from Bamako. But for now, these are the visuals on your screens. Take a look at the amount of destruction that has been caused, Ishita. And remember, this attack is completely aimed at trying to overthrow the military government that's already there in Mali, and a similar fate was unfolding with Burkina Faso also for a very long time. So speak to us about the details. You also said that the residence, or in fact the headquarters of the defense minister, were also struck as part of the attack. This is major escalation, and in fact this is a long-standing one, but the last seen escalation was in September of 2025, where about 80 military men from Mali were killed. Speak to us about the escalations, Ishita.
Right, of course, Gisu, we have seen that in this part of the African continent, there are several countries, including Mali, Burkina Faso, where military has a very strong grip over the region. And this time also we have seen several armed internal groups, and not just the terror groups associated with Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, but also internal rebel groups have joined in this fighting, which has escalated the situation on the ground. We have seen the capital, Bamako, as well as other northern cities, including Sevara, Gao, which have come under the attack. So this fighting essentially is concentrated in northern part of the country, which has escalated the situation. Right now, the armed forces have stepped in. They're trying to bring the situation under control. But we have seen the kind of explosions that are now taking place. These are coordinated attacks by these rebel groups who are now working in coordination with the terror groups outside the country as well. So we are looking at, therefore, coordinated attempt at, taking over these cities, especially northern part of the country, which has escalated the situation. Of course, the government continues to engage with these groups, and with the army also stepping in, we could be seeing some calm being restored, but we'll have to see how this pans out for the country, which has seen unrest over the past few decades.
Ishita, also speaking about the rebel groups, now they are making the most out of the militaries across the African coastline, not being able to handle these countries very well. There are huge security gaps, especially, in the Sahel region, that now in Burkina Faso, or even Mali for that matter, these rebel groups, even Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State, are trying to make the most out of. So this is a leverage that they're using against the military, which has also, in fact, not been able to control the region very well. But take a look for a second at the visuals. The amount of destruction that has been caused is on your screens right now. Multiple areas that have been hit across Bamako, the capital of Mali. Now, remember, the military has made it very clear. They have said that several areas, even after the capital was struck first, several other areas across the country have been hit too. For security purposes, they haven't released a list of those names. But remember, the Sahel region remains extremely precarious with major security lapses, and that is exactly what these rebel groups, and in fact also the Al-Qaeda and Islamic State, are trying to make the most out of. This is the opportunity that they're trying to jump on, taking advantage of the military-led governments in the areas and their struggle to control the region. Now, JNIM, one of the biggest names when it comes to internal rebel groups, grew from earlier groups like Al-Qaeda and Islamic Maghreb. Now, viewers, these are the visuals of the defense minister's home being under attack. Now, my colleague Ishita joined me and she was speaking about this attack. Take a look at the visuals. A defense minister's house completely reduced to rubble, enough to tell you the intensity of what is ongoing. This proxy warfare has been on in Africa for a very long time, but the last time this escalated was in September of 2025, where at least 70 military personnel inside Mali were killed as part of these strikes. Now, remember, regional instability remains one of the key reasons why this is happening. The violence extends beyond Mali, with groups even looking to expand into West African coastline. In fact, Russian forces, as per reports, are actively supporting the Mali army. UN peacekeeping operations have been impacted by the violence that's ongoing. And in fact, these attacks have caused significant fatalities amongst the Mali armed forces and even their civilians. Now remember, just in July last year, over 80 militants were killed in response to an attack on 7 towns. And in September 2025, once again, Mali was struck by attacks where 70 military personnel in Mali were killed. Now remember, JNIM, which is broken out of Al-Qaeda and formed a local group, is causing most havoc. Now, Major General J.D. Bakshi joins us to get us more updates into the matter and to speak to us about the security reasons for why this might be happening. Now, General Bakshi, I want to understand from you, we completely see a collapse in Mali and even places like Burkina Faso, and it's been on for years. But this time around, even the defense minister's, residence has been struck. And this is done by an offshoot of the Al-Qaeda. So what are we trying to look at? What are we eyeing? Is this going to grow regionally? And also one extremely important thing in amongst all of this is that in the entire Sahel region, the military has been unable to take full control. And that is exactly the leverage that these groups are using. Your first take on this, General Bakshi.
You see, in America, in Africa, things had stabilized quite a bit. But in fact, they were very, very anti any, coup taking place in any country and the military taking over. They used to collectively boycott, and the African Union was quite active on that score. But lately we have found that the intervention by foreign military, including by the Russians, their group, has been on the rise, and a lot of Francophone Africa, there have been a large number of overthrows of the government, changes of government, non-linear changes of government, overthrows, etc. But this tendency of counter by the Al-Qaeda, and I'm not very sure if the CIA is not behind these Al-Qaeda, because it's a flag of convenience. I mean, they quite attack the same organization and use the same organization to counter the moves by the Russians or the others in the Africa region. And this seems to be a serious attack, as you are very rightly pointing out. Their airport has been attacked. Their, the house of the defense minister has been attacked. So this seems to be a serious attempt at a regime change, a coup. Because this area is quite rich in resources, and to get the resources of this area, there are a large number of groups which are active. Like I said, the Russians, as also the Americans through the agency or through the cover of these non-state
Major
actors.
General Bakshi, in fact, definitely your understanding of security is a lot more nuanced. Since you have been tracking security for so long, you've also served the army so decoratively. But I also want to understand from you another factor, the rise of, the conversions in Africa. Do you think that has somewhere or the other fanned this entire flame that's ongoing? Burkina Faso, Mali, all of these capitals taking a massive hit. Now, Major General Bakshi, before I come back to you, we also have some more breaking developments. Now, Mali's armed forces are currently engaged in wiping out the assailants. Now, after armed terrorist groups launched attacks on areas across the capital, Bamako, and even the interiors of the country, they have said that they call on all citizens to remain calm and vigilant. In fact, the Mali army has given a public statement. Listen into what they have to say.
Plusieurs terroristes ont été... Bonjour et bienvenue à ces flashs spéciaux. L'état-major général des armées informe l'opinion nationale que dans la matinée du 25 avril 2026, des groupes armés terroristes ont tenté des attaques dans certaines villes du pays. Ils ont immédiatement essuyé de violents revers grâce au professionnalisme et à l'engagement des femmes. Plusieurs terroristes ont été neutralisés et des équipements détruits. Les opérations de ratissage continuent. La situation est sous contrôle. L'état-major général des armées appelle les populations à garder leur calme et à faire preuve de discernement en ait relayé aucune vidéo ou message de propagande visant à alimenter l'inquiétude générale. Dans ce contexte, il est impératif de se référer exclusivement aux canaux officiels pour obtenir des informations.
Major General Bakshi continues being with us on the broadcast. Now, we heard what the Mali army has to say. This is the first statement that they've given out since the attacks this morning that shook the capital in Mali. In fact, various other areas that the military has not named for security purposes. But Defense Minister's home has also been attacked. You can see the visuals on your screens. But remember, the army now says they are reiterating that citizens need to maintain their calm. In fact, Major General Bakshi continues being with us on the broadcast. Major General, coming back to you about what we were speaking about, you know, Mali has been Islamic for over years and centuries, in fact. But this rise of Islamic extremism that we can see has been associated to JNIM, which is an Al-Qaeda offshoot, of course, and also ISIS Sahel. So where do you think this rise is coming from? It's especially gotten a lot worse in the last few years. September of 2025, 70 of their military personnel were killed by internal organizations, internal rebel groups, including the JNIM, which is backed by Al-Qaeda. Major General Bakshi.
You see, what I'm saying is Africa is rich in resources, minerals especially. And a lot of the area was first controlled by the French. Then we found the Russians coming in a big way, and a number of coups taking place, successful coups after a long gap in Africa. Coups had become a kind of a rarity. They were looked down upon, but then we have had very many successful changes, non-linear changes of governments in force there. The basic thing is the control of minerals, the control of minerals extraction from these areas. The CIA is doing it through the cover of the ISIS, the Al-Qaeda, etc. And the Russian groups, you know, their Wagner army especially has been very, very active in many of these countries. Wagner groups have been supporting rebellions, revolts, coups. The intention is to take over the mineral resource base of Africa.
Right.
That is what I see in action right now.
Major General Bakshi, also, what about the security vacuum that has been caused? You know, UN peacekeepers have completely pulled out of Mali. They have pulled out of a lot of countries across the African coastline. Not just that, the French military has also pulled out of Mali. And that, somewhere or the other, has given a lot more leverage in the hands of these extremist forces, including, like we spoke about, the Al-Qaeda offshoots, which is an internal rebel group, and also the ISIS Sahel region. Not just that, but also the fall in the disintegration of, you know, neighboring countries, especially Libya, in 2011 has put some very sophisticated military armament into the hands of both these extremist rebel groups and also the military inside Mali. But how much of this will you sort of peg on the shoulders of the security vacuum that has been caused by foreign services that entered the land of the African region, promising to take out extremism from there, but exited without any resolve, including the UN peacekeepers? Major General Bakshi.
The UN peacekeepers, unfortunately, the UN is becoming a defunct organization, much like the League of Nations. It is not even a shadow of its former self, and nobody listens. The irrelevance of the UN has been accentuated after Donald Trump took charge in the United States. He has shown utter withering contempt for the UN. He's cut down its funding. And then the gridlock in the UN Security Council, where the veto comes in the way of any decisive action, any collective action. In fact, they vetoed action even in Iran. The Chinese and the Russians vetoed that action. So the UN, unfortunately, we cannot look upon the UN to do anything cohesive or to do anything of substance or worthwhile to reverse the order of, they cannot get adequate force levels, actually.
Definitely,
the contributory nations are not, because of the finances of the UN going down. Quite obviously, many nations will not send unless they are paid for. And if the UN funds are now down, they cannot engage the better forces. A lot of the Indian forces used to go, forces from Pakistan used to go, which were fairly effective. But now I don't find that effectiveness at all in the UN military operations. Lack of budgets is a part to blame, but the irrelevance of the United Nations is itself a major factor.
Right. Major General Bakshi, thank you very much for getting us a lowdown. In fact, that completely clears a lot of aspects that we've been sort of, trying to decode here after seeing the visuals of this strike that has struck Mali. In fact, we're also being joined by Major General K.K. Sinha. But before Major General Sinha, we come to you, just quickly shifting focus to another breaking development that we're getting in from Mali. A statement now has been released by the African Union. The President of the Commission of the African Union is following up with the grave concerns that the attacks have reported in Mali, the targeting of their capital of Bamako, as well as other urban centers across the country. Now, the President of the Commission strongly condemns these acts. In fact, before that, let's also take a look at the visuals that we're getting in. The African Union President has responded, but also a chopper has also been shot down. Now, this has happened in Mali. The exact location, like we said, is not clear yet. The military is tight-lipped on revealing the locations where these attacks have exactly taken place. But remember, a chopper that's been shot down, we do not know whether or not this was a commercial chopper, a military chopper. But right before this, we also saw the defense minister's home that was completely reduced to rubble. So multi-front that is breaking out in this action, the disarray that's unfolding in Mali. A chopper has been shot down. Now remember, we're talking about a military in Mali that has taken control of the country for yesteryears, coming face to face with internal rebel groups that are fanned by Al-Qaeda and also ISIS in the Sahel region, the ISIS that operates in the Sahel region. Now remember, their only resolve is to topple the military government, is to topple the military's rule and take over the resources. This is a war not just of, ideologies. It's not a theological war that we're looking at. We're looking at a political and economic war unfold right in front of our eyes. And the African coastline has been subject to this for a very long time. But the last time that it's happened was in September of 2025, when about 70 military personnel in Mali were killed by these internal rebel groups and by the Islamic State that functions in the African region. And now, today, we're looking at another renewed strike, a complete fight that has broken out in Mali. Take a look at Mali's capital that has been completely destroyed. Multiple buildings have been hit. Their defense minister's home has been bombed. A chopper has also been downed. In fact, Major General K.K. Sinha continues being with us on the broadcast. Major General Sinha, I want you to break this down for us. This is extremely, the violence that we're looking at, the scale is huge. But how much of it would you, peg on the shoulders of the security lapses that have been caused by foreign soldiers on the African soil? These offshoot Al-Qaeda organizations, internal rebel organizations are coming in, trying to topple the military rule, which is, again, it has a lot of lapses, especially in the Sahel region, and that is what these groups are trying to make the most out of. In fact, UN peacekeepers exit, France's exit, and while Russia was helping Mali army before, there are no reports of Russia's contribution for the last few years. So how would you break this down?
Good evening, Jahan. What we see in the Mali, it is typically what is happening in Africa all over. See, basically the Al-Qaeda and Islamic State is trying to have a seat over there. You said that it has nothing to do with the Islamization of Africa, but it is a mix of that. What is happening in Mali, if you see, because I have been in this area as a peace observer as part of the UN. So the ground reality is that these countries are basically, they have been mangled with the foreign power. And initially it was the Americans who were doing it, the French have got into this, and they have exploited not only the African but the resources over there. Everyone is targeting the resources what these countries have got, and the tremendous resources. And the people have been taken for the granted in the name of political military combination of things what happen in these areas, including, and it has got a shade of also the Islamic revolution like Burkina Faso. They want to bring it in these areas. This is exactly what is happening. Russia got involved, as brought it out, but Russia, basically wanted to do it in these areas, basically to support the military, establishment.
Right.
But they're not able to do it.
Major General K.K. Sinha, yes. Major General Sinha, we're so sorry. We really want to continue the conversation, but we're running short on time. And we will, of course, come back to you for more that you have to say and the more that you have to reveal on the situation that's ongoing. But viewers, for now, we're taking a short commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Take a look at what's exactly unfolding in Mali. The capital has been hit. Defense Minister's home has been bombed. A chopper has been downed. And in fact, this is going to go and spill over in the larger Sahel region. We're getting you all the details after this short break. Stay tuned.
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये हित तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा।
Amity has been ranked among the top universities globally for producing the most employable graduates by the Times Higher Education UK. Yet another testimony to Amity's excellent placement record.
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
आलू चाट या फ्रूट चाट?
स्वाद बनाए चमकी चाट।
क्या बात है? स्वादिष्ट पकोड़े और फरसान, अरे चमकी चाट है इसकी जान।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
आर प्योर शाही पनीर मसाला, डिलीशियस, हेल्दी, एवरीडे।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। ड्राई फ्रूट और दही बड़े। चमकी चाट से स्वाद बढ़े।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
Join International Institute of Hotel Management. Call 983-10-50,000.
आर प्योर सूजी पास्ता उबालो मिलाओ और खाओ
8 मिनट में तैयार।
क्या टेस्ट है सबका राजा हार का मसाला। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ रे, दिल झूमे देखो मतवारा हुआ रे। केसरिया से मन जोगी हुआ।
हर पल मनाओ केसरी त्योहार। विमल, बोलो जुबान केसरी।
चमकी चाट से क्या बना है?
सैंडविच लस्सी और छाछ और
हर घूंट में चमकी चाट। अब बताओ स्वाद आया? आया।
असली स्वाद सिर्फ चंकी चाट।
रानी, इस घर में कुछ है जो टूटता नहीं।
ये पिलर कभी नहीं टूटेगा। रुंगटा स्टील TMT से बना।
रुंगटा नहीं तो घर स्ट्रॉन्ग नहीं। रुंगटा स्टील TMT बार एकदम सॉलिड।
थोड़े में ज्यादा स्वाद ये हित तो है इसकी खास बात। वाओ मामा क्या स्वाद है? अरे मेरे राजा। प्यास बुझाए ठंडक लाए सबको भाई जीरा सिंह। MTH का जलजीरा जीरा सिंह।
जीरा सिर्फ असली रिफ्रेशिंग, असली स्वाद, असली मजा।
The Indian Air Force is giving its old MiG-29 fighter jets a powerful new weapon from Britain that turns them into modern fighters ready for today's battles. MiG-29s first came to India in the 1980s, have flown many missions along the tough borders with China and Pakistan. Now they are getting equipped with British ASRAAM missiles that make them as strong as NATO planes in close fights. The Ministry of Defense sent out a request for proposals to fit the Advanced Short-Range Air-to-Air Missile on the MiG-29 UPG version. This British missile from the company MBD
Welcome to the second episode of College Rankings, co-presented by SRM and powered by collegedunia.com. Ladies and gentlemen, last week we did our first episode. Why are we doing the ranking show? Now, across India, there are many education rankings that are available to students. Now, one may ask, how are these rankings even compiled? And in the first edition, we looked at why it is important to look at rankings objectively, not just have someone compile the data and tell you that this is the top ranked college, etc., etc. On the second edition, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting you 5 more streams which are being ranked. Once again, these are private colleges we are ranking. And joining us on the broadcast this evening, quickly let's introduce our panelists. This evening we have Mr. Syed Ehtesham Hasnain. He's an education expert, a Padma Shri awardee, honored with Germany's highest civilian award. He's a former member and a scientific advisory council to the Prime Minister and the National Council chair at IIT Delhi. We see a very established, distinguished educationist. Thank you, sir. Mr. Hasnain, privileged to have you with us today. I have Professor Vinay Kumar. He's a Pro Vice Chancellor, MH SRM IST. Thank you, Professor, for being with us today. I have Sanjay Kaul. He's VP Project College Dunia, who's helping us put all these rankings together, joining us on the broadcast. He will be helping us understand what the rankings are all about and why they're different. And finally, with me in the studios, I have Rachit Mathur, who's an entrepreneur, founder and CEO of Shifts, also advisor and mentor to young founders. He's in our studios. Okay, let's get started. First of all, I have to tell you, Sanjay, we had a great response to the first edition. A lot of people are curious about the rankings, the fact that Republic Education is talking about rankings and why the rankings are different. A lot of buzz that was created last week. First up, why don't you tell our viewers more about how College Dunia compiles these rankings and why it is India's largest education rankings exercise? Sanjay.
Thank you, Niranjan, for the spot. So see, students today do not rely only on ranking reports. Say they search, they compare, they validate across multiple sources before making decisions. So platforms like College Dunia operate at this decision layer. I mean, what I mean to say is College Dunia is one of India's largest student platforms, where millions of students explore colleges, compare options, they read reviews, they evaluate placements and ROI before applying. So it does not only just show information, it captures the behavior mindset. So what students are searching here, where they are spending time, which institutions are they actually choosing, so that's all correlated. And that's a very different signal compared to the traditional rankings, whatever we have seen. So while ranking may reflect perceptions, platforms like College Dunia, they reflect real demand and the intent of the student. So yeah.
Okay. Let me get Mr. Hasnain. Sir, you've seen the evolution of Indian education, if I can say that, because you've been here for many years, and with your decades of experience and what you've observed, the evolution of Indian education ecosystem. I remember, I mean, I'm not very old, I'm pretty young, but 20 years back, education was very different from how it is today. With the sheer number of private colleges, you have so many more options. And in the last edition, we spoke of how today, people, yes, they do have highly distinguished institutes like your IITs and IIMs, and yet private institutions are compelling. Surely for the fact of the infrastructure that they provide, the opportunities, etc. Now, how do you see, sir, the evolution of education and what is on offer today for students?
Yes. Thank you, Niranjan. Wonderful question. You know, what used to be in our times it used to be only university or government-funded institutions which are not in the private sector, very rarely in the private sector, very, very rarely. But you know what has happened? I'll tell you, about 20 years ago, only about 10% people of the students could go to education. And that has to expand because we are 1.4 billion numbers today in the world. And perhaps one of the highest populated, and that's where we need to have more colleges. And government-funded institutions are not too many. The net result of that is that a lot of private institutions have come in. And there's a huge differential between the structures of the fee, also the infrastructure and the teaching standards and all. The government standards, you know, it was initially only 6 IITs were there and 1 AIMS was there, and 1 Indian Institute of Science were there. These were the traditional top ranking institution in the country, in the government. And everybody would aspire to get into IITs, get into AIMS, or get into IISc Bangalore. Things have changed now. People cannot, they have limited. One hand, we want more seats in them, but that's not possible. So it was actually our advice to the Prime Minister at that time, about 20 years ago, that, we should have more private, more government-funded institutions like IITs. And now we have IITs in almost every state. We have multiple aims, but still the number is not enough. Like that, there are many universities. Amity University is coming in a big way. SRM is a big name. Ashoka University is a big name. At the same time, there are names which are absolutely money-making. They know there's a dearth of good institutions in the private sector. They want to catch and grab people and now make them pay heavy tuition fee. They don't pay good money to the faculty. Some of the top private universities pay a very good amount. In fact, some universities pay as good as IITs. I'm in the IIT sector, so I know that IIT attracts the best people. So I think it's also a need for that. And that's where the private institutions have to come and have to rank themselves in a way that the common student, without worrying about anything, can go and say, but then don't forget, in Indian ranking, it is based on what discipline you are in.
Yeah. Sanjay, are you seeing a trend when College Dunia, you're a platform where students come and choose universities or go through rankings, apply online, right? Is there a trend you've seen private versus government funded?
Definitely, Niranjan. We have seen a surge spike in the searches for private institutions, and platforms like us, we also help these private institutions get the best of the students as well. As Sir was also speaking about it, like there is definitely quality there, but how many students do you think an IIT can accumulate or an IIM can accumulate? Definitely there is a surge, there is a quality student in the market, but they have to go to the best of the colleges as well. And this is how we have also structured the rankings accordingly. I mean, the reputation is definitely there, like what academia and employers think about an institution matters. And secondly, the accreditation and compliance, like through the bodies like NAC. So yes, there is definitely a surge when you see on our platforms like College Dunia, like we see a lot of traction on these universities, like private universities. And as Sir said, I mean, Ashoka is doing really well, SRM is doing really well. Ashoka in terms of liberal arts, SRM in terms of tech, technology, tech as well. And they've been constantly ranked by the agencies, by the various agencies. And this is how it is. And then there is search visibility and popularity as well. On Google and as well as on platforms like us, College Dunia, I mean, how often the students are actually looking for that institution, it also matters a lot. And what we have seen is a surge in the, the private industry matter, the private institution matter, yes.
Yeah. That is why it is so important, not just to look at rankings, but that is why College Dunia and the Republic education rankings are different, because we look at student reviews, actual student reviews, 5,000 of them across the country, and is one of India's largest exercise. And secondly, we run an institute at Republic. We just started it last year called Republic School of Journalism. And when we just opened up, because we're all journalists, we've never done this before. And when we opened up applications, most students asked us, the first question they asked us when they were applying is, will we be placed? Will we get placement? And I'm happy to say that 1 year down the line, all the students we had in the first batch, we're not just placing them, we are absorbing all of them at Republic. So on that front, shall we quickly get into the rankings? I have 5 categories that I want to reveal today, and these are private universities, once again, private universities. And let me start with pharmacy. First up, the top 10 pharmacy colleges in India. On top, number 1, JSS Academy of Higher Education and Research, Tamil Nadu. Second, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Tamil Nadu. A lovely professional university, LPU in Punjab. Chitkara University in Punjab at number 4, Chandigarh University at number 5, Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham in Tamil Nadu at number 6, Banasthali Vidyapeeth at number 7, at number 8, Birla Institute of Technology, BIT Mesra in Jharkhand, number 9, Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University, Pune, Maharashtra, and number 10, ISF College of Pharmacy. Now, these are the top 10 institutes that we have for pharmacy. let's get to law next. The top 10 law colleges in India. Number 1, SLS Pune. Number 2, Shiksha Anusandhan University, SOA Bhubaneswar. Kalinga University of Industrial Technology, KIIT in Bhubaneswar. Number 3, 4, Sastra University, Tanjavur. Number 5, Christ University, Bengaluru, the central campus, where I also studied, by the way. And lovely professional university, number 6, Jalandhar. Number 7, Nirma University. Number 8, Army Institute of Law, that's AIL Mohali. Number 9, ICFAI Foundation of Higher Education, that's IFHE in Hyderabad. And at number 10, you have Amity University, Noida. That's for law. And let's get you the next category, which is BBA. BBA, the top 10 universities, ladies and gentlemen, right on top, Christ University, Bengaluru, continues to lead for BBA education in Karnataka. Number 2, Narsi Monji Institute of Management Studies in Maharashtra. Number 3, Symbiosis Center for Management Studies, Maharashtra. Number 4, Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology, Odisha. Number 5, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, or SRM-IST in Tamil Nadu. Mount Carmel College in Karnataka at number 6. Loyola College at number 7, Tamil Nadu. Number 8, IBS Telangana. Number 9, Amity University, Noida, Uttar Pradesh. And at number 10, SRM AP. So you have 2 SRM institutes in the top 10 at BBA. And let me go to the next category. You have architecture at number 1. The next ranking category is architecture. Ranked 1, right on top, is Birla Institute of Technology, or BIT Mesra. At number 2, you have SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Tamil Nadu. And number 3, CEPT University, Gujarat. 4, Chandigarh University. 5, BMS College of Architecture, or BMSCA. Number 6, a lovely professional university. Number 7, Satyabama Institute of Science and Technology, Tamil Nadu. At 8, Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology. Number 9, RV College of Architecture, RVCA. And at number 10, you have Sushant University. And the final category that I have here for today, that's hotel management, the final stream. And the top 10 universities are as follows. 1, Mahe, Manipal, Karnataka at number 1. Number 2, D.Y. Patil University in Maharashtra. Number 3, you have Banarsi Das Chandiwala Institute of Hotel Management and Catering Technology in Delhi NCR. At number 4, you have Bharati Vidyapeeth Deemed University, Pune. At number 5, Chandigarh University, Punjab. 6, Galgotias University in Uttar Pradesh. At 7, Amity University in Uttar Pradesh. At number 8, Christ University in Karnataka. Number 9, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, or SRM-IST, Tamil Nadu. And at number 10, Shiksha Anusandhan University, or SOA, in Odisha. So those are the 5 streams that we wanted to bring to our viewers in the second episode of the Republic College Education powered by College Dunia. And let me get in, okay, let me start with you, Rachit. What do students, because we spoke about entrepreneurship, right? Spoke about what students demand or what students expect. When it comes to entrepreneurship, what are universities doing to motivate students? Because we know that today entrepreneurship startup is a huge focus point for many universities. Many of them have incubation blocks, for example, or many founders who are helping their students. So how important is this, and what is the trend that you're seeing?
Sure. Thanks, Niranjan. So interestingly, what's happening in today's generation is that they're all, by default, very entrepreneurial in nature.
Yes.
They're trying to build amazing companies. They're trying to build impactful businesses around it and everything. But without providing the right ecosystem, there's not a lot what can be done. So that's where a lot of universities are coming in. They're providing the right kind of infrastructure. They're providing the right kind of ecosystem for their students to build better companies and build large companies around it.
Yeah. If I can take that same question to Professor Vinay Kumar as well. Professor Vinay Kumar is the Pro-Vice Chancellor of SRM-IST. We saw SRM feature in many of these categories as well. And I know that SRM also pays a lot of attention to startups and entrepreneurship. Mr. Hasnain also mentioned that. So if you can put a little bit of light of how important it is for students, startups and the entrepreneurship ecosystem.
Thank you. So fundamentally, SRM has is a very large university with 100,000 students as of now, and it is a multidisciplinary university. We have medical sciences, we have humanities, we have pharmacy, we have a whole lot of engineering, which is one of the major faculty. So when you have a multidisciplinary university, it is quite easy to actually sort of encourage entrepreneurship, because you have multiple departments actually collaborating, and then students have opportunities to work with a lot of departments at the same time. Every private university is actually aiming to basically create that type of an impact. SRM IST is particularly interested in creating that impact in entrepreneurial venturing, and we have quite a lot of students actually taking up entrepreneurship as a career, and we have an end-to-end support for how you actually develop yourself as an entrepreneur, from coursework to minors in entrepreneurship, and then there is pre-incubation initiatives, and you have an incubator, you have a lot of areas. For instance, we have BioNest, which is into biotechnology, and a lot of other cutting-edge research related entrepreneurial activities. So I think when you have multidisciplinary university, it enables entrepreneurship, and then it is, I think, quite easy for the universities to actually collaborate, and I think that is the key thing that happens at SRM IST.
When we talk about the future of education, one of the questions that stand out: are we only celebrating legacy, or are we recognizing what's next? Because in today's AI-driven, data-powered world, a new category of universities is rising, built not just on tradition, but on innovation. And leading that transformation is SRM University AP, with 100% PhD faculty, global collaborations with institutions like MIT and UC Berkeley, and a stellar 100% placement record with top packages crossing 50 lakh. And the numbers don't just speak, they dominate. This is not just a university, it's a blueprint for the future. And SRM AP, India's #1 new age private university for tech and innovation. And excellence isn't just about global ambition, it's also about local transformation. In the Northeast, where opportunity often migrates outward, one institution is reversing that trend, building talent, creating impact, and driving regional growth. And that institution is SRM University, Sikkim. Ranked the #1 private university in Sikkim, with strong placement records across IT and hospitality, it's not just educating students, it's reshaping an entire ecosystem, creating careers, fueling industries, and powering a region. SRM Gangtok, India's #1 private university for regional impact and Northeast excellence. And if legacy defines the past, these institutions are clearly defining the future. Yeah, Mr. Hasnain, if I can bring you in on this part, the expectations of students. We speak about reverse brain drain. We speak about the changing trends. I mean, there was a time when we were growing up. Everybody was trying to take the first flight out of India, try and find a course in the UK, the US. But has the trend changed now? Because with so many great universities here in India and what our universities have to offer, do you see that trend somewhere changing the mindset maybe?
Yes, I fully agree with you. There is a clear change in the mindset of young minds. Earlier times, young minds used to go by the name. The names used to sell. And in fact, in a large number of cases, people will go to IIT just to say that my children are going to IIT. And the kids will say, I am from IIT. This has changed a lot. Also because, as I said, one of the countries that used to attract the largest number of students from every part of the world was the US. That is no longer there today. It's changing. And also the fact is that today, as rightly mentioned, large names were given about the top universities. In the government sector, we already know, but as you rightly pointed out, there are not enough seats in the government sectors. The IITs cannot take more than X number of students. JNU cannot take, Jamia Millia cannot take, IIMs cannot take, AIMS cannot take. So what do we do? And that's where the big names that have just been mentioned, and the names are growing. What is happening today? Students are looking at making up their own minds after looking at all kinds of rankings. I think one of the good things that the universities are now evolving to among themselves is, what is employability of the students? When you drive on the road that goes from Noida to Delhi,
yes,
big banners say this university students, the cost to company CTC is these many crores. Now, that is what the students look at. How saleable I would be after this. Yeah. What can I do for my... I think that's a very important point. And that the student makes up his or her mind. Of course, these channels assist, these rankings assist, but they do independent due diligence.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get in both Professor Vinay Kumar and Rachit before I end the show. Mr. Hasnain spoke of universities and what universities have to offer. Are you seeing a trend? He mentioned very interestingly the Delhi-Noida Expressway, and there are many universities between Delhi-Noida Expressway. With so many universities, what are each of these universities offering to students which is different from the other?
Sure.
And if any case studies that you have.
Sure. So one such name actually which comes to my mind is Galgotias University. So not only they have a world-class incubation center for their startups where about 200 plus startups are incubated, they have an amazing Apple app which